Welcome to the City of Miami Beach Commission Chambers. We're glad to have you with us today. If you require ADA assistance or accommodations, please notify the city clerk or any staff member, and we will be happy to assist you. As a courtesy to everyone present, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices at this time. Lobbyist disclosure reminder. If you are a lobbyist appearing before the City Commission or any city board, you must have registered with the city clerk prior to participating. If you have not yet registered, please do so immediately. Presentation reminder. If you submitted a presentation within the 24 hours prior to the start of today's meeting, please check the computer located at the podium to ensure your file is properly loaded. When the floor opens for public comment, please step up to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and begin by stating your name and address for the record. How to participate in public meetings via Zoom. Once you have joined the Zoom meeting, go to the bottom panel and click on the raise hand icon to notify the meeting host that you would like to speak. As soon as the host grants you permission to speak, a dialog box will pop up on your screen with two options. Select the unmute button to begin speaking. After you finish speaking, mute your microphone and click on the lower hand icon. If you are joining Zoom via phone, tap the keypad icon and press star 9 to notify the meeting host that you have raised your hand to speak. A voice operator will prompt you to unmute your microphone by pressing star 6. Once unmuted, you may begin speaking. After you finish sharing your comments, be sure to press star 9 to lower your hand and star 6 to mute yourself. We kindly ask everyone to conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner throughout today's meeting. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for participating in your local government here in the City of Miami Beach.
Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to the September 9th Planning Board meeting. Hope everyone had a great summer. We have a long agenda, but for the first time, we're going to try a consent agenda for several items where there has been no adverse public comment, and we believe it's non-controversial. And there was a new agenda handed out, so we'll follow that, but we'll start today. I think we have a full attendance. We do. To the board, the minutes from last meeting were handed out this morning. If someone could make a motion to approve them, that would be great.
Motion to approve?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, those are approved. Now I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to the members of the board. Today's meeting of the Planning Board will be conducted in a hybrid format with the board physically present in the commission chambers at Miami Beach City Hall and applicant staff and members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via Zoom. To participate virtually, the public may dial 1-877-853-5257 and enter the webinar ID, which is 861-4342-6327#, or log in to the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 861-4342-6327. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon in the Zoom app or dial *9 if they are participating by phone. If you're appearing on behalf of a business, a corporation, or another person, you need to register as a lobbyist with the city clerk's office. If you haven't registered yet, you should register before you speak to the board. You don't have to register as a lobbyist if you're speaking only on behalf of yourself and not any other party, or if you're testifying as an expert witness, providing only scientific, technical, or other specialized information or testimony in this public meeting, or if you're appearing as a representative of a neighborhood association without any compensation or reimbursement for your appearance, to express support of or opposition to any item. Expert witnesses and representatives of neighborhood associations shall, prior to appearing, disclose in writing to the city clerk their name, address, and the principal on whose behalf they are communicating. If you're an architect, attorney, or employee representing an applicant or an objector, you must register as a lobbyist. These rules apply whether you're appearing in favor of or against an item, or encouraging or arguing against its passage, defeat, modification, or continuance. Lastly, I'd like to swear in any members of staff or the public who will be testifying today. Please raise your right hands. This is anyone who's going to testify today on an application. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, we're going to start with requests for continuances. The first is Planning Board File 250776, Liquor Store Prohibition on Lincoln Road.
We'd like to request that this item be continued to the March 10th, 2026 meeting date.
Okay, do we need to hear comment on that? Anyone here to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Okay. Anyone comment here? We want to move it? Someone want to move it?
I'll move it.
Okay.
Second.
Scott and Shield, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, move to March. Okay, next one is Planning Board File 250777, increased distance separation for tobacco and vape stores.
And with this item, likewise, we'd like to have this continued to the March 10th, 2026 meeting date.
Okay, anyone here to speak on this?
This is affected by state legislation.
Motion to continue?
Anyone here to speak on this? Anyone on Zoom? No.
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Okay,
Motion to continue?
okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, move to March. Next one is Planning Board File 250773, 1784 West Avenue.
I believe if the applicant's here, they would like to request a continuance till the October 16th meeting.
Does the applicant want to speak? Okay. Anyone here to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Okay, someone want to move it?
Motion to continue?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And the last one is Planning Board File 250763, 1600 Washington Avenue.
Likewise is a request for a continuance to the October 16th meeting.
Anyone here to speak on this one? Anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised?
Okay. Can I get a
Motion to continue?
Okay, Melissa seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right, we're going to go on to our 7 consent agenda items. Michael?
So I'm going to go through and read each of the items, and we'll ask for public comment, and also ask if any of the board members wish to pull an item off the consent agenda. So starting with the first item, it's PB 25-0742 for 3925 Collins Avenue. This is an application for modification to a previously issued conditional use permit for the operation of a mechanical parking garage. Specifically, the applicant is requesting to change the owner-operator and update the conditions of approval. The second application is PB 25-0759 for 35.
You know, Michael, I'd rather, let's just see if is there any public comment, anyone here to speak on the first item? Is there anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
All right, I just
Sure,
want to,
Sure, we'll do that individually.
yeah, if you don't mind, I think it'd be better. Anyone on the board, any problem with
No issues.
voting on it? Okay, so it'd be voting on a favorable recommendation, so can I get a?
Well, I think we'll do one vote at the end.
Okay, one vote for all of them?
Yeah.
But just, okay, I just want to go one by one about
Sure.
public comment.
Sure.
Okay,
And just to be clear, these are public hearing items.
Right.
They can only be approved as part of a consent agenda if no member of the board pulls the item for discussion and no member of the public requests to speak.
correct.
Okay, the next item is PB 25-0759, 3500 Flamingo Drive. This is a single-family home lot split. This is an application to subdivide the existing single site comprised of 2 platted lots into 2 individual buildable parcels. Is there any public comment on this application? There's nobody with their hand raised online.
Nobody in chambers? Okay, next one.
The next application is PB 25-0780. This is 7605 Collins Avenue, a comprehensive plan and future land use map amendment. This pertains to the parcel of land located at 7605 Collins Avenue to change the zoning from residential single-family RS to public facility PF. Is there any public comment online for this application?
Anybody in
There is
chamber?
one person with their hand raised online. Johan Moore?
Good morning. I just wanted to alert you that your volume is very low. My computer is all the way up and I can barely hear you. I don't actually have a comment to this item. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll
Thank
speak
you.
louder. Thank you. And by the way, if the board, when we go one by one, if anybody on the board wants for any reason, take this off the consent agenda, tell us at the time, okay? Thanks.
The next item is PB 25-0781, 7605 Collins Avenue, the same as the prior address. This is a zoning district change to change the zoning from RS4 residential single family to GU government use. Is there any public comment on this application? There's no one online with their hand raised? No one in
Okay, next
chambers?
one.
The next one is PB 25-0787, good standing requirements for zoning amendments. This ordinance applies to private applications for code amendments and comprehensive plan amendments and requires that prior to consideration of any such amendments by the planning board, that there be no open zoning, city code, building or life safety violations on the subject property. Also requires there should be no outstanding fees, fines, or open bills due to the city prior to the ordinance being reviewed by the planning board. Is there any public comment on this application?
Okay, next one.
The next one is PB 25-0788, notice requirements for rescheduled land use board meetings. This ordinance basically codifies and requires that we place on the county website, whenever a meeting has been canceled, we give a 5-day notice prior to the applications coming back to the planning board. We've already started this process. Whenever an application is continued, we automatically place it on the county's website, so we're already implementing this process. Is there any comment, public comment on this application?
Okay, next.
And the last consent agenda item is PB 25-0767 for 515 Jefferson Avenue. This is an application requesting conditional use approval for an educational institution in the CPS2 zoning district.
have a question. What about these last two? 782 and 783?
Those are not on consent agenda.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
there's someone to speak on the item.
right, thank you.
No?
You're here for this?
Good morning. My name is Paul Savage. The law office is at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami, Florida. I'm here on the consent agenda item number 20 just to say that we agree with Mr. Belush and the conditions of the staff and have no further statement and agree to the consent agenda placement. Thank you so much.
Okay,
We do have one person online with their hand raised.
on the last one,
I believe so, Gerard.
on the 515 Jefferson?
I don't know.
Gerard, you're on mute.
Hello? Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. We live in the building.
If you could introduce yourself with your address and then tell us what item you're
Right.
talking on, thanks.
Great. My name's Gerard Vignoli. I'm the board president of 626 Meridian Avenue. And I met with the city. They were putting a fire department, and they were very late to tell us. The plan switch. Just trying to find out what's been going on with the project for 515 Jefferson. Has that now become an educational spot?
So the current application is for a school at this location. There's no application here or anything in process to put a fire station at this location.
Okay, so it had a change. Must have changed without any notice. Okay.
No, there's been no indication here for a fire station at this location.
This is a shopping center.
Oh,
Yeah, he's saying it wasn't a
Okay.
change. There was
Okay,
never a
thank
plan
you.
for, or an application for a fire station.
so I'm confusing this with the lot right next door. I thought that was the address.
Okay, it's not, but thank you. Any other public comment? All right, so,
Can I ask about this one? Like, so is drop off, pickup, all was taken care of and staff's in agreement with that? And then also the noise attenuation in terms of nearby neighbors, everything's,
Correct, yes.
okay.
It's also just a expansion of it's a temporary location for, while they're expanding their school.
Yeah.
It's just pre-K.
all right, so, as Michael said, we're gonna vote to approve all 7 of them. Tim, in favor, sorry?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Anyone opposed to all of these being sent with a favorable recommendation? Okay. Anything else need to be done on those?
Just take a vote.
Yeah.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Question, if we wanted to suggest something for consent agenda, is that something we would send over to you, or is it something that you just decide?
Well, we base it on comments we've received from the public or the type of application, if we anticipate complexities with the application. Like, for example, today, there were some items that we did initially have on consent. We took off consent because of public comment.
Got it.
And Mr. Chairman,
But it's only if the public comment is adverse?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
if, in the event that a board member wanted to pull an application for discussion or a member of the public wanted to testify on a particular application, my recommendation would be we handle it like the city commission does when they're with their consent agenda, where if it's a pulled item, then it's heard after. Any items that are not pulled, at that point, the board could take a vote to approve them, and then we would hear the pulled items. So if, I think just procedurally would work better if anyone wanted to speak or pull the application, then we separate that one from consideration, but vote first on the ones that you are approving on consent.
Correct. I agree.
Quick question for the chair, and I guess it's for the process. A lot of times, applications come up, and we're all in favor of them, we're all in favor of these, but sometimes board member may just have a question to clarify something. When would you suggest we sort of bring that up? For instance, I
For
just
the
thought.
consent items?
For the consent items.
Well, that's why I wanted to go one by one, so that
Okay.
as he announces them, that's when I
We
would
can-
either want you to
yeah,
comment.
Because I was just thinking, like, something just came to mind. I mean, I'm in favor of everything, the school at 515 Jefferson. This is on because it's a school, and any school, regardless of where it's located, requires conditional use.
Correct, but as you may recall, there is a pending ordinance before the city commission that would allow schools to be approved administratively. So if that ordinance is ultimately adopted, then this school would not have to go to the planning
not.
board for a CUP.
Okay. So yeah, it's questions like that. I mean, obviously, we're all in favor of that, but sometimes things like that, just for a clarification
Yeah.
for one of the board members. Okay.
Yeah, so each time we have one, we'll go one by one. We'll see if there's public comment. Anyone want to take it off the agenda or questions, and then we'll go to the next one, so. All right, we're on to new comprehensive planning code amendments. The first one is item 13 on the agenda, Planning Board File 250782, the distance separation exemption for tobacco and vape uses in North Beach.
And this staff report begins on page 93 of the board packages. This ordinance was referred to the planning board by the city commission on July 23rd of this year. The attached ordinance amendment creates a narrow exemption for tobacco and vape uses in North Beach as part of the operation of a convenience store. Specifically, a tobacco vape dealer operating within a convenience store would be exempt from the minimum distance separation requirement from another tobacco vape use if the following thresholds are met. This includes the convenience store must be located in a CD2 zoning district fronting Collins Avenue between 65th and 67th Streets. No more than 5% of the floor area of the convenience store shall contain tobacco, vape, or smoking device products. Now, staff noted in our report that the current definitions for tobacco and vape entities were drafted broadly to apply to all types of tobacco and vape products. The reason for this was to ensure that these products are adequately controlled and do not become easily accessible to children and minors. In this regard, it is important to reemphasize the following intent of the current tobacco and vape product regulations, and I'll just read this. It is the intent of this division to limit access and exposure of tobacco and vaping products to children and adolescents due to their addictive nature and damage effects on health. It is also the intent to limit the proliferation of tobacco, vaping, and smoking device product dealers in areas where the city encourages tourism and to minimize the negative implications that these types of businesses may portray to the city's visitors seeking a unique vacation destination. As indicated in our report, staff has major concerns with the proposed amendment that does relax the current distance separation requirements for tobacco and vape uses. And we believe that this could encourage future requests for limited exceptions to this requirement. As such, we are recommending the planning board transmit this to the city commission with an unfavorable recommendation.
Okay, anybody in chambers on this item? Anybody on Zoom?
There is nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Okay. Board, Jonathan?
I guess the only thing that I question, has the city ever worked to, because within those stores, there may, like a convenience store that has tobacco products, they may put up, it may not, the products themselves may not cover more than 5% of the area, but they may have signage throughout the store that promotes, tobacco or nicotine products. And so I guess I'm wondering,
We can only regulate the signage within the first 10 feet of the storefront. We can't regulate the signage within the store.
okay, and then I guess the other question I have is, in terms of tobacco and vaping products, there's other products now that are not necessarily tobacco, but they contain nicotine. And so I'm wondering whether it would be more appropriate to suggest to the commission to broaden it, if they want to broaden it to nicotine products.
Are you talking about broadening what's classified as a tobacco and vape use, or, because what this ordinance does is lessen the restrictions. It allows some, right now, for example, within this area, no new business could add tobacco or vape products to their business. This ordinance would give them an exemption and allow them to add tobacco and vape products as part of the convenience store.
Right, and I'm talking about, because it's limiting it to that area, so then everywhere outside, I'm wondering if there's a loophole. But, I mean, it's not necessarily important for this, I'm fine with this one, but I'm just saying in the future, so, all right.
Michael, can you clarify what motivated the commission to be loosening?
One business wanted to add tobacco products to their operation, and they couldn't because they're within the distance of another tobacco dealer. So the only way they could do that was with this exemption.
So this is one business, not several, but several.
Well, there may be other businesses that take advantage. It could be multiple businesses could take advantage of this.
Right,
within
but
the
it was
same
motivated by
location.
one business making a
I believe
request
so.
for a change? Okay.
So.
So, Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Spot zoning.
Yes.
Sorry?
So I spoke to the sponsor about this, and my understanding is that the store sold to a relative and not, I guess they weren't aware that they were, or maybe they were, I don't know, that they were giving up their tobacco license or their ability to sell because there are restrictions in North Beach because there's so many different places there on every block. I mean, you could basically go down and it's, you know, alcohol, tobacco, surf shop, alcohol, tobacco, surf shop. And my understanding is that they wanted the ability to have their tobacco license back. Well, you know, I guess if I'm opening a business, or am selling a business, I have to understand what the rules are when I sell that business and what I'm giving up as a result. And I don't think that just because somebody wants something back that they gave up, that you should just get it back. And to be honest, there were problems before, and we have been trying for a very long time to eliminate those problems, and I'm going to be voting no on that.
You mean voting no, meaning?
I'm not.
Unfavorable.
I'm not in support, and I'm
Not in
not in support of
An unfavorable recommendation?
Oh, no, I am in support of an unfavorable
Oh,
recommendation,
okay.
but I'm not in support of making a exemption for one place, so that's just.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion?
Someone want to move it?
Move it with an unfavorable recommendation.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right, the next one is Planning Board File 250783, Concurrency and Mobility Fee Installment Plan.
And this report begins on page 105, the board packages. There have been some modifications since this report was sent out. I'll let Nick provide updates, but I'm just going to go over some brief information on this ordinance. So the current code requires the payment of concurrency mitigation fees and mobility fees that relates to increases in development intensity. These fees are assessed to offset impacts to the city's infrastructure and transportation system, to make sure that adequate infrastructure is available to support new or intensified uses. In commercial corridors where we have higher vacancy rates, the immediate payment for the full amount of these fees, particularly for small businesses, for changes of use without new construction, may create a financial burden. This proposed ordinance seeks to help mitigate that, and as drafted, this included a installment plan option to pay installments over 6 months. However, I believe the commission sponsor has now removed this as part of the request, and now this will include only a waiver for certain commercial districts, including 41st Street, Lincoln Road, Washington Avenue, and 71st Street. Nick, do you have an update on this?
The only thing I would add, Michael is correct that at the request of the sponsor, this ordinance will be amended to make it a complete waiver along the corridors that Michael just listed. The only other change that I would add is the sponsor is proposing a 1-year sunset. So after a 1-year period following enactment, this incentive, call it, would expire.
The reason for the sunset, can you clarify, Nick? You would.
I think that a sunset would allow the city commission and the administration to evaluate the success of the program after a 1-year period and decide whether to extend it. This is all, changes like these are intended to spur economic activity and encourage new businesses to open.
But it does require a considerable amount of changes with staff level, though, to be making these changes, right?
Well, what it would do effectively is waive applicable concurrency and mobility fees along these corridors.
100%.
What Melissa might be talking about, though, is that in, I think, the recommendation, so that planning would have to hire maybe
That
one or
was
two
with
more
the
people.
installment plan.
Well, that's
before
only with
that.
the installment plan. With the waiving of the fees, there's
It
no
would
additional
require that,
payroll.
correct.
Okay.
Anyone in chamber to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Do you know what was I know these are sort of our biggest commercial corridors, but was there any talk about doing this citywide or in any commercial district in the city? Because it's, again, I understand these are the bigger areas, but there are a lot of places not on these roads, not in these areas that, a lot of businesses that could benefit, or new businesses that may be able to benefit.
My understanding was only focused on these commercial corridors.
I'd love to see it expanded, I mean, to every commercial corridor, but, I mean, it's a good start.
Yeah.
Because, mobility fees, businesses are paying those, and like you say in the report, it goes toward infrastructure, ensuring that there's adequate infrastructure. Obviously, the city, we can't build more roads. So to mitigate the impacts, I guess we're putting the money into the trolley and other things. But I guess there's only so far that can go. So, I don't know, I would just like to see it expanded. I don't know if the board has the
we
will
put that as
to
part of
maybe
If
say
recommendation?
that.
you want to recommend that
Right.
the area be expanded to the entire city, you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah, it's a trial, so if it's, the city is not, it's not working out for any reason, after a year, it goes away. Or I should say the fees come back.
Well, the only thing that I agree with you that it should be expanded to the whole city, and this is generally great, but if the incentive is to try and move businesses into these certain areas, this might be the incentive that's needed to get them, to populate these specific areas. And then if this works, you can kind of start to focus on other places.
It's why I asked if there was any discussion or what was the reasoning behind just these districts.
I can speak to 41st Street. I know specifically they were trying to do that because of, the high vacancy rate, and just there's been so little interest. They're trying to provide whatever incentives they can.
Very high.
Yeah, so I know that's for
I mean, it's
41st
up
Street. It
to
seems
the
like
board.
it's
I mean, I'm just
for the
putting
other
that
ones.
out there. I'm in favor of this, but if we can, recommend an expansion, I'd be fine with that as
We
well.
can do that. We can make a separate recommendation for expansion, no?
You could, yes, but remember, just bear in mind that concurrency is what funds improvements to infrastructure, mobility fees fund transit-related services and improvements. So I think what I would recommend to you is if there are additional areas where you would like to incentivize new business development, that would be appropriate for the board to recommend. I don't know, Michael, if the board could do a wholesale exclusion or waiver.
We should just.
I mean, that's something that would
We don't
require,
have
I
the
think,
infor-
further
right,
study.
We don't have
I-
the information right now.
Right.
But what maybe the recommendation is that the commission evaluates more neighborhoods to be included into, right?
Yeah,
I
that works, yeah.
Fine.
All right, so let's start with the motion to send this favorably. Can I get a motion on that?
I'd make a motion to send this favorably.
Okay.
Second.
I'll
Okay.
second it
All-
with the recommendation
Yeah,
that
we're
they
gonna
look
do
for
that
more.
now.
recommendation.
Yeah, all in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? No. Do you want us to do a separate motion, or you
Yeah,
got
you-
the recommendation?
I think we can include it in the recommendation as long
Okay.
as it's unanimous, yes.
All right, great. Okay, next one is Planning Board File 250786, 40th Street overlay.
And this staff report begins on page 111 of the board packages. And this ordinance came about over the last couple of years. And this was last referred by the planning board, by the city commission on July 23rd. There was a community workshop, public meeting that took place on November 19th of last year. I'm just going to give a brief summary of the area and what the ordinance amendment proposes. So on page 114 of the board packages, we provided a map that shows the 40th Street religious overlay. It was established in 2010 and applies to religious institutions in the residential single-family district that is located on the south side of 40th Street between Chase Avenue to the west and Pine Tree Drive to the east. The overlay allows pedestrian-friendly religious institutional uses through the conditional use permit process. The proposed ordinance does the following. It allows the introduction of dormitory and standalone schools in allowable use. The total number of dormitories would not exceed 4 dormitory units per platted lot, and each dormitory unit would have a limit of up to 4 beds. It does require design review board approval for sites containing 2 or more platted lots. The maximum unit size has been increased from 50% to 100%. Now remember, this is zoned single-family, so the regulations I'm mentioning here are all related to the single-family zoning district. So again, it allows the maximum unit size to go from 50% to 100%. The maximum lot coverage has been increased from 30% to 50%. Covered stairs and walkways would be exempt from unit size and lot coverage calculations. The minimum front setback would be reduced from 30 feet to 20 feet. The minimum street side setback will be reduced from 10 feet to 5 feet. The maximum number of stories has been increased from 2 stories to 3 stories. The maximum building height is increased for flat roof structures from 24 feet to 36 feet, and for slope roof structures from 27 feet to 39 feet. The open space and extended setback requirements for homes exceeding 2 stories would not apply to the overlay district. Limitation of 2 contiguous lots in terms of aggregation has been expanded to allow up to 3 contiguous lots within the overlay. Now, this would not allow rooftop access for uses on the roof. Now, we noted in our report the subject overlay is a transitional area from the more intense commercial properties to the north of 40th Street and the established single-family homes immediately to the south of the overlay boundaries. Now, similar transition areas also exist in other parts of the city, the residential office or low-intensity RM1 zoning districts as an interface between single-family districts and more intense commercial districts. In this regard, the increased height intensity proposed in these amendments is not very inconsistent with the regulations of the RM1 residential multifamily zoning district. Additionally, both DRB and planning board approval will be required for new developments. We are recommending that the planning board transmit this to the city commission with a favorable recommendation.
Okay, anyone in chambers speak on this? Anyone in Zoom?
We do have one person with their hand raised. Dave?
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please state your full name for the record.
Oh, David Stack. I live on 377 Royal Palm Avenue, right next to the religious overlay. We've been at the 40th Street, or we're next to the 40th Street overlay for over 10 years. And I know this overlay has been there. There's been religious institutions along it. Myself and my neighbors are very concerned, as I think anyone would be if they heard there was a 36 or 3 to 4 story building being built, expanding the lot lines right next to our homes. This is something that we have heard about for the last year. We've been concerned that now there's going to be these very large buildings with coming in where there were 3 single-family homes. There's now going to be one very large building. I've seen the renderings. It looks like it's going to be a nice building, but I don't know how the city can approve in an area that's been residential for 100 years to put in, to just get rid of lot lines, to go right up to people's houses without some kind of regulation. I understand if they want to redo it, it sounds like it's going to be nice, but we need to respect, the residential rules and the residents that are along this. I just don't see how this could be done. I don't think anyone on the board would want a 4-story building built up against their lot line. Those of you who are residents of Miami Beach or wherever you have your homes, unless you're in a condo, it's just not why you buy a house in Miami Beach. And I understand progress. And as you said, there's, the other part about this is it says there's dormitories. I appreciate the clarification. There's only going to be 4 dormitories per area, but for this large of a building, I can imagine there's going to be a lot of people staying there. We already have a traffic and parking problem in this area. We've had pilot programs that we've appreciated efforts to try and reduce the traffic. Another issue is where are the people staying in this large building going to park, and how will this affect our traffic? So, I'm just wanted some clarification from the planning committee, why we're letting go of all these residential regulations and what accommodations are going to be made for the residents.
Thank you. We have another caller online, Shlomo Stillerman.
Well, do you want to address any of his questions or comments?
I mean, let's hear public comment first.
All right. Okay.
I guess Shlomo hung up. Adina Stillerman.
I just wanted to know if he could repeat himself because I just got on.
Who, the last speaker?
Yes, please.
Well,
You could join via our YouTube page, City of Miami Beach, and you could actually rewind the meeting.
Let's go to our
Okay,
next.
I came on today in support of this project.
okay, thank you.
Now, we do have Shlomo Stillerman.
Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm here in support of the project. Dr. David Sack is a wonderful person. He's a neighbor of mine. I believe that we did go around to all the neighbors, and we have 13 of the neighbors, immediate neighbors on Royal Palm and Prairie, who all signed a petition in favor of this. And I think it's just a question of taking the time to sit down and really understanding the project. I believe that once people sit and understand the project, they would be in favor. And I would be happy to sit a little bit more with Dr. Sack and explain in the details. But to address his overall concerns, look, I live in the neighborhood also, and I'm aware of the traffic, but Yehudi does not actually contribute at all to the traffic because we're an organization that operates nights and weekends when there is no traffic. So we've never contributed to the traffic, and we have no issues with the parking because the people who come to Yehudi go across the street. We have plenty of parking lots. So it doesn't contribute at all to the traffic or to the parking. And the concerns of having a large building, 3 or 4 stories, when you see the actual renders, it's nothing like that. It's 2 stories, and in some areas goes up to 3 stories. And it's very much in line with what you would see in other transition type of areas throughout Miami Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Dave again.
Dave? He already spoke, right?
Yeah, if you needed me to, I don't need to repeat myself if you can rewind it. And I can talk to Rabbi Tillerman offline.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to note that the reason why this is before you today is that under the current religious overlay district, those requirements are that any new construction has to comply with the single-family regulations. This ordinance is before you because it's proposing to change those regulations to allow expanded volume, expanded footprint for this, proposed religious use. So that's the reason why it's before you today. Otherwise, would not be allowed as of right. As you know, the board reviews code amendments all the time. This is just like any other code amendment for a zoning district or a specific area to allow expanded, footprint and volume.
Are they planning on joining all the lots together?
Well, I think the proposal is to join 2 lots fronting 40th Street to make one.
I guess my issue is that, like, I see this, I've read the materials, it's an overlay, I understand how that works, but I haven't really seen I don't have an understanding of what is being proposed. They're all talking about, the renderings and stuff. I haven't seen that. I don't know if that was in our package.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
And so I just, given the concern of the neighbor, which, I'm always in favor of, allowing more time for them to talk to Dr. Sack or any neighbor if there's concerns. But, one of the concerns we also have to consider, yes, this is an institution. I've heard today that they don't, they're going to be mostly weekends and they're going to, they're not going to be using cars and everything. But this property may change hands, later down the road, and it might have a different use. And so these are things as a planning board I think we have to consider is the future of the area, future owners, future operators, and the impact to the area. And so I haven't seen anything about, what's proposed. I haven't seen anything about, I'd love to meet with the people who are doing this and to understand, what the plans are. But I guess for right now, I have reservations given the concern by a neighbor as well as what I understand is going to be big structures going in this neighborhood.
Well, just to be clear, that project would come back to the planning board. So the planning board would be reviewing that overall project as part of a conditional use permit. This is something that wouldn't be done as of right, both the DRB.
And also DRB. no?
Yes, it would also require design review board and planning board. So issues of operations, use, occupancy, traffic, circulation, will all be reviewed by the planning board when that does come as part of a CUP
I guess
application.
what I could speak to is, so the synagogue that I go to is down the block. And, you know, Yehudi has been a great kind of player in the area, in the sense that most of their operations, understandably so, are Friday night through Saturday night. You know, I know that, like, a friend of mine met his wife kind of going to Yehudi, and now they're staying in the community, so it's been a great kind of attractor. You know, I'd be in favor just because I've seen what they've done, and I think that whatever has to be approved through the planning board, through the DRB, can have, you know, uses very restricted, but also specific, right? That if it changes hands, if something happens to the property, making sure that this use can't be kind of just carried on to any type of, you know, subsequent ownership. But yeah, I mean, I think generally from what they've done and hopefully what they will do, they've been an asset to the community. There's a big city parking lot that's literally right across the street that at night is more often than not empty, especially on the weekends. So for that reason, I'd be in support.
We do have more public comment if you'd like to hear from the new callers. The next caller is Sarah Bandujo.
Sarah?
Hi, Sarah, you have 3 minutes.
You might be on mute, Sarah.
Hi, I just wanted to call and say my support. I don't really have 3 minutes to say. I just wanted to show my support for Yehudi. I think it's really important for the community, and I just wanted to be here as a community member.
Thank you.
Our next caller is a Zoom user.
Please state your name for the record.
Make sure you're off your mute button.
My name is Mayor Kushner. I live on Royal Palm and 45th Street, and I'm frequent in the neighborhood around Yehudi, and I do see a lot what they do. Amazing work in the community, and but again, I've never realized an increase in traffic because of events that are going on. It's mostly weekends and nights when I'm already like not not home. And when I'm already like home and just amazing people and amazing, just nice people. There's no extra noise. There's no, I don't see real bother, besides unless you're on the property, you don't really see what's going on in there. So I'm in support of what they want to do.
Thank you.
Our next caller is Elishiva Goldwasser.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Introduce yourself and
Hi.
then make your comments.
My name is Elisheva Goldwasser. I just wanted to show my support. I live on 42nd Street, and I just think Yehudi is nothing but an asset to the community. And I was raised here my whole life. I remember when the Ritz project started and everyone was panicking, same things, traffic, more people in the neighborhood, and they've been nothing but an asset. No one notices a difference. It only adds to have a big, beautiful building and nice people. That's all.
Thank you.
Our next caller is Esther Siegel.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Esther Siegel. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm just wanted to show my support and favor. As somebody who actually grew up and lived on 41st Street over the last 30 years, I have friends that have been a part of Yehudi and it's impacted their life, and it's also brought them to Miami Beach to settle within our communities in Miami Beach and raise their kids here. To me, I feel like it's just been such an enhancement and such a positive benefit of having Yehudi in the heart of Miami Beach. So yeah, I'm definitely in support of it. And yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Our next caller is Yehudi.
Hi, my name is Yehudis Khan. I was born and raised in Miami Beach, and I just wanted to call in and show my support for this project as well.
Thank you.
And that concludes our Zoom callers.
Okay, and just Dave and everybody else, just understand that we are making a recommendation. This will go before the commission, and if you want to speak there, and that obviously you want to attend that meeting.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 more callers now.
Well, all right, then we're going to cut it off.
Hannah?
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Hi. Hi, yeah, I just also wanted to call in and show my support for Yehudi and all the amazing things they do for the community here in Miami Beach.
Thank you.
Our next caller, Jacob Khan.
Hello, I'm Jacob Khan. Just wanted to show my support. I think Yehudi is an incredible organization, has done tremendous work for the Miami Beach community. It draws people to move to the community, to marry in the community, helps the youth of the community, the young professionals. Big support.
Thank you.
We're going to close the public hearing.
Well, is there somebody else on?
No, that's it.
All right, we're going to close the hearing. All right, someone want to move it?
I have
Or you
a question.
Go
I have
ahead.
a question.
Sure, Scott.
Sure.
Scott?
Just 2 quick questions. You had the public outreach meeting. How did that go? I mean, what was the feel of the neighbors? I mean, we heard from a lot of them now.
I don't have information on that.
You don't? Okay.
I mean, it sounds like the neighbors are pretty favorable, but.
I had a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Scott.
One
Let
more
him
question. You know, to address one of the concerns that the first caller had in terms of massing, I know a lot of times we do when we have an overlay. I mean, this is like a bigger area. We kind of step down some of the massing when it's near.
It's difficult to do this because we have such narrow lots.
It's such small, but I mean.
If you have like the 6 feet overlay, you have like a whole block.
And that's, I was looking at you decreased the minimum front setback from, to 20 feet from 30, be in favor of maybe even more, and then, requiring more of the massing to be pushed more toward 40th Street, away from the residential, the single-family homes. We just see that in the city, with a lot of these new homes being built, where there's, 5 feet from the property line,
Well,
25-foot wall.
So essentially, to follow up on Scott, could the minimum front setback be taken to, let's say, 10 feet?
As
the
long
rear
as more of the
setback
massing is, maybe a bigger rear setback, or more of the massing is pushed towards 40th Street.
Basically, the rear setback would go away because the rear setback would be the property line going north-south. So when you join the 2 lots, there's no rear setback, there's just going to be the front and the side setbacks. And the 5-foot setback that's proposed for the interior side yards, that's consistent with, most older homes were constructed with a 5-foot setback, so it's not like out of the ordinary.
So that's consistent, got it.
But if the board wanted to recommend, reducing the front setback further as part of any transmittal, you could do that.
I mean, as long as we could somehow, again, the idea is just
It's
to
a
push
side
some of
street.
that mass toward 40th Street, however you think that can be done.
I think it's also a careful balance of not having something then project too far forward of all the other homes along the block. I think that's why we recommended the
Well,
20-foot setback.
Yeah, but I mean, it's on pushing more toward 40th Street, you're projecting into, a lot of empty or parking lots or the backs of
commercial.
some commercial spaces. So I'd rather see more of it there than, more of the massing there than against the single
Right,
family.
the front setback would be though along, 40th Street would always be a side facing the street, a side setback. It would never be a front setback. The front setback would always be on the north-south
That's the issue.
avenues.
So that's why I think, to your point, though, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing for these
Neighbors.
for the neighbors. That, you can't just say front setback or side setback, because each of these lots have different fronts and sides.
Can't we just leave the setbacks as they are now? If I were, as the first gentleman spoke about,
And ask
and,
for a
and,
variance.
and honestly, I don't know anything about this. I know that there was I think there was a meeting maybe 6 or 7 months ago. Why don't we have any renderings or any documents or anything to look at? I had written to the city and I didn't get any response, but my questions were the same pretty much as you all. I had only just gotten these documents on Friday, but I don't know, I'm concerned about the future ramifications of the neighborhood. It is a residential neighborhood. I don't have so much a problem with the use at all, but I wouldn't want anything right up against my property line, at all. I think that I don't know how much public outreach has been done. Has there been mailers? What kind of public outreach has been done? Do you know?
I can't answer for sure on that. I know that there was the community outreach meeting. This has been at the land use committee a few times.
I would
My
like to make
understanding
a
is-
comment.
Sorry.
I haven't had a chance to speak. I agree with those that say we don't have enough information. If we're going to go with height changes, lot combinations, and it's going to be an overlay that we can support, if we have the ability to delay this to the next meeting and request the proper information, including renderings, and understanding what they're going to do and how this affects the backdoor neighbors. Because I would, like that gentleman said, whether it's right or wrong, we don't have enough information to know that I have a house and 5 feet from me is going to be a 3-story mass. I would have some issues with that potentially. I don't know, because I have no information. You're asking us to vote blindly on something.
But I think, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, this is about an overlay, it's not about a specific project. Once they
Right.
have their plans finalized, they would then come back to the planning board and the DRB, at which point the project would be,
But
further
only if
deliberated,
But we're
discussed.
already giving them permission to increase the height and decrease the setbacks. So they can come back, and we
That's what
can't
they said.
say, no, you can't have 5 feet and, between you and a house and 36 feet maximum height and 3 lots together. How can we say no to that once we approve this?
Why didn't we get any documents?
It was not provided to us. It was not provided to me.
I think the concern is that this is not a project we're approving, we're actually approving an ordinance amendment. And
Yeah.
so the consequences of that are
We don't know
beyond,
the
beyond one
consequences.
project. And I
Yeah.
think that for people to be more comfortable, including some of the neighbors, we would have, I think, better renderings to understand how it's affecting the residential neighborhood.
And also get information as to how much public outreach has been done and what the feedback was, because I literally don't know anything about, much of this.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there was not somebody here today
To
to provide
represent.
the renderings, the
Right, to
information.
answer
requested.
Sure. That's-
So would
that's
that, would
what
that happen as
delay
part
it.
of an overlay discussion, or that would happen with the specific project?
Well, no, because the overlay, we're allowed, like Keith said, we're
We're
allowing
allowing
them to do
heights, we're
things that we
allowing
can't
setbacks.
retract after that.
You can, exactly, I don't.
We're allowing,
I think we're mostly in
Lot
support, but we need more
combinations.
information before we can,
Exactly.
stamp it.
right,
because
that's
the
all I'm saying.
consequences
Not a
are-
yes or
right,
no,
right.
just.
Michael, is
So-
there any urgency to this that we
I
could?
believe that the sponsor wanted to have this voted whichever way by the planning board and moved along.
We can't,
Well,
I-
but we can recommend to wait push it back to the next meeting, and they'll push back their votes.
What happens if this is either favorable or unfavorable? It goes to the commission, they have the ability to
Correct.
either.
they can do whatever
All they do is
want,
listen to
but
our
They do whatever
recommendation.
they
You know,
want
we don't have enough, I personally do not have enough information.
to vote it.
Can I ask, why are they doing, so just to clarify, they only will need DRB approval if it's 2 lots or more? And so if they do a new 3-story structure on one of the lots and then separate it from a 3-story structure on the next lot, they wouldn't need design review board approval for those 2 new bigger structures?
Got to add something to clarify, make a correction. The interior side setback on the south side is 10 feet, not 5 feet. So I'll make that correction. Maybe that'll help allay some of the concerns the board members had in terms of the massing.
So there's 10 feet separation?
It's a 10-foot setback from the property line. And Tom Mooney just let me know that this has been advertised for the September 17th City Commission meeting. So that's why we would like to have this transmitted one way or another to the City Commission
But we
today.
don't have any, don't have, like,
Can I just go back to my question in terms of the design review board approvals only needed for when they're doing a project or building a structure on 2 of the lots together?
Correct.
Okay. Is there, I mean, I would be in favor, given the impacts to potential neighbors and the neighborhood, I would be in favor of all, I mean, because that was part of the pitch was that they're going to have to come back for design review board approval. But, so I would suggest, and that's one way to kind of move this forward, but also protect the neighborhood and the neighbors and the impact on, you know, whatever, is to require design review board approval for everything in this overlay. Anything that's beyond the current, you know, the regulation. So if they wanted to take advantage of this new overlay, just one or more lots.
Yeah, that could be a recommendation.
And then as part of that, we could also make it that any subsequent owner has to also come back and the use doesn't kind of.
That'd be part of the planning board review process typically, like you do now.
The next
You
round.
can require that when this comes to the planning board, any change of operator come back to the board as part of that.
So any establishment in this, like, so everybody needs this planning board approval?
Yes.
So even if it's one of the dormitory with like one room in it?
If it's going to be a standalone school, it requires planning board approval.
how,
All right.
wait,
Hold on.
wait just a second, please. This is a school, right? Is that right?
Yes.
So how is it being, where's the traffic plan? Where's the, where?
That's going to be all part
Yeah,
of
that's the next
conditional use
application.
permit.
And there are
Okay, and-
schools there, by the way, like there
Okay,
are
okay.
schools currently.
And, okay, and they obviously want us to move this forward,
So can we leave the setbacks as they are now? Because I honestly don't, I wouldn't want, you know, a 0 lot line property. I mean, if you're buying a home in Miami Beach, that's part of your, you know what?
There's no 0 lot line proposed. It's
Well,
not gonna-
but it's close to it. I mean, there's really not that much of a difference. So
Well,
what,
my understanding is it won't work if you leave them the way they are, right?
Yes, you will not be able to get the volume needed,
Right.
square footage with the existing setbacks.
So, yeah, listen, you can vote forward or against it, but they want us to vote on it.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve this with a favorable recommendation. Sorry, I'll make a motion to approve this with a favorable recommendation under the condition that any and all future projects that are to be done along this overlay have to come to Planning Board and DRB for approval.
Second.
Okay.
I just clarify one thing. So you're saying that every lot in this overlay, there will be at least 10 feet between the south lot line and any structure?
Correct.
And could we recommend maybe there's can't be any variance for anything?
I wouldn't recommend no variance provision. There may be some hardship or certain circumstances. That is a much harder
Burden.
threshold to meet. So I wouldn't recommend no variances. There may be instances that warrant that, and a neighbor's not opposed to it, so.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
Aye.
You want to do one by one, or
Let's.
or anyone opposed to it? Okay, then move forward with that recommendation. Okay. All right, progress reports. First one, Planning Board File 220553, 455 Lincoln Road.
And I passed out this staff report. It wasn't part of your board packages. This is PB 22-0553.
This was handed out this morning.
455
So handed out this morning.
You may recall this was before you initially on March 4th of this year due to code violations.
There's a restaurant on today's Carne that
I
on
thought this
Lincoln
was a
Road.
consent, one of the consent.
No, this was not a consent.
Okay, sorry.
This was last reviewed by the board on May 6th. It continued to July. The July meeting was canceled. It was continued till today's hearing. As noted in our report, there have been no new citations or violations on the property since the board last heard this. So we are recommending that the progress report be concluded at this time.
Great. Sir?
Good morning, Michael Yiannopoulos, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, joined by my colleague Michael Larkin and the General Manager Jose Ajke. As staff mentioned, we were before you on March 4th and May 6th. Our team has worked very hard and very diligently to make sure that all conditions are complied with. We've had 0 issues since our first progress report, our second progress report in May, and we would respectfully request to conclude this progress report.
Okay, anyone here to speak on this?
I have one thing to say.
Hold on, anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised.
Okay.
I work in downtown Miami. I'm always hearing about downtown Miami restaurants and, Coconut Grove. I've heard such great things about this restaurant, bringing people to the area, and just, it's now become a destination. So I hope it continues to do great and be great, and thank you.
It's a fun
I agree.
place.
Thank you.
I agree.
All right, any other questions or comments and want to move it?
Make a motion to close it out.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next progress report is Planning Board File 240715, 1800, 1810, 1818 Michigan Avenue, and 1039 18th Street lot split.
And this is a progress report based upon non-compliance with the conditions of approval. The board may remember on November 26th of last year, the planning board approved a lot split application to divide the site, which was 4 platted lots into 4 individual buildable parcels. We sent a cure letter to the applicant on August 8th, based upon the violations listed on page 1 and 2 of the board packages. The first one was to failure to comply with the requirements for vacant and abandoned properties in all districts by not having a fence. And the second one was not complying with the CUP, the conditions of approval for the lot split. The conditions of approval for the lot split basically say that the applicant has to comply with the requirements in the code for abandoned and vacant properties. So by them getting a violation of that entailed another violation of the CUP. So we're asking to hear from the applicant in terms of the correcting these violations, as well as hearing from the members of the public. We are recommending to then continue this progress report to the November 4th meeting date.
So through the chairs, for the record, Nicholas Rodriguez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. Mickey Marrero is handling this application, but he just went down to meet with the building official. He had a 10 a.m. meeting on this property regarding these violations. So if we could skip this one and return to it, Mickey will be back and he'll have a more substantive update because he's meeting with the building official right now
All
about
right,
this property.
I'm just curious, so we approve a lot split conditionally, then they don't meet the requirements of the conditions, so it's kind of a weird situation, you can't reverse the lot split, I mean,
I know, that's a difficult situation, right?
okay.
I drove by there.
So really, the key is making sure they comply, or kind of next time we could say, all right, we're not allowing the lot split.
Right, well, I would suggest we table this item until.
Yeah, I was just curious, because
Yeah.
that's a weird, okay,
Yeah, I've never seen a revocation or modification of a lot split.
yeah, me neither, all right.
But to be clear, you do have that authority.
Yeah, I figured, but it's just kind of like I said, it's an odd situation. All right, we'll defer that. We'll come back to that item. All right, we're on to previously continued applications. Planning Board File 240719, 1350 Collins Avenue.
So we're moving right along in our applications today. This is on page 7 of the board packages. You may remember this first came before you substantively on February 4th of this year. This is when the applicant was proposing to have both ambient and above ambient level entertainment within the courtyard of a renovated building at 1350 Collins Avenue. At the time, the applicant was proposing both a DJ and a violinist. They were going to have above background level music during various times of the day on the weekends. Since that time, the applicant went out with the sound consultant by the applicant. We did test the sound system back in February. We tested it at ambient levels and above ambient levels in the neighboring properties and found that at ambient levels, the noise was not plainly audible in the guest rooms. Once it got to above ambient levels, it clearly was audible and could become a nuisance for those neighbors. Now the applicant has revised their request. They're asking for ambient level music only with either a DJ or a solo violinist. They're no longer asking for entertainment at any time above background level music. Now,
So they need entertainment to have someone live there, but but
Right.
the level of the music will maintain
so-
at ambient.
Just the fact of having a DJ.
Right. They need an
Is that
entertainment.
entertainment or
Got it.
violence? So we are recommending that, we do think that having it at ambient levels will help, should allay any concerns with it being a nuisance, as long as the sound system is set to not exceed those volumes. We are recommending that, I'll just go through some conditions of approval that we're recommending, that this entertainment only be allowed as part of a restaurant, always serving meals, and entertainment is prohibited anytime that food service is not available, so this does not become a standalone bar or standalone entertainment establishment. We are recommending a requirement that entertainment shall not exceed ambient levels at any time. Entertainment is limited to a DJ or a solo violinist as proffered by the applicant. We are recommending that the DJ or solo violinist be located within the interior of the building. They may have the doors open to allow the sound through, but we're recommending that the DJ or solo violinist be located within the interior of the building. We are recommending limitations on these hours. At this time, only on Saturdays and Sundays between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m., and entertainment not be permitted outside of those hours, and not permitted on anytime Mondays through Fridays, and recommending that the sound system be tested again with staff on site to ensure compliance with these conditions. We do believe that this should satisfy concerns of the neighbors, and recommending approval in accordance with the conditions I just mentioned.
Okay.
Is the applicant here for this item?
Yeah, I was gonna say, oh, they are, okay.
Hi, my name is Jamil Lib. We opened the place 3 months ago, and honestly, I don't think that we don't even need any more entertainment. It's a great restaurant with great food. I would love to.
What's the name of the restaurant?
Donatella. Donatella. It's a really good Italian chef from Napoli. I hope that you guys can help us. It's not being easy, no? But it's gonna be always level music. I met with my neighbor on the street like 2-3 weeks ago, and we're
So
not.
you've been open and have you been playing ambient music?
Yeah, ambient music. Yeah.
Just without a DJ for now?
Yeah, and we send our music programmers sometimes to set up because we have a computer and a lot of speakers that you can lower this one, lower that one. So we're very interested not to have a problem with no one.
Yeah, I'm just, how long have you been open?
3 months.
Okay, and you've been playing ambient music without complaints?
With no complaints.
at the city board?
I've been there. I've been there and it was fabulous.
Okay, but no complaints so far in 3 months?
Correct.
At the ambient level? Okay.
My asking is that you guys help us to promote and come. It's a great restaurant.
Yeah. Did you hear all the conditions that the staff recommend? You're okay with all those?
Honestly, we were trying to do in the daytime for a brunch, but look, if we put a DJ or a violinist, it's just gonna be maybe an expense. It's being so tough that we don't know if we want it, no?
Right. You gotta wait till September's over.
You know, this place, there's a lot of like, not weddings, but, when they ask for the hand of the bride.
Yeah,
So
engagement.
sometimes they want to bring a saxo, a violin, sometimes it's 6 p.m. It's a beautiful location.
Right,
So we're just
okay.
trying to find the way to not to
Promote-
lose
promote
money.
your
make it
business.
work.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question.
Before you get, does anyone have any disclosures to make on this application? Okay. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I've been, but we wanted to see what we approved. The food was fantastic, and it was really enjoyable. It was not loud at all. But I want to just make sure if we approve this, that there won't be any speakers or anything like that you're going to add back to the front of the building or any of that kind of thing. And I want to make sure that the residents are protected, or not the residents, but also the neighboring buildings are protected.
Honestly, we removed the speakers when you told us we have two like on the inside behind of our planters, just because no one walks sometimes there, just to let them know that we're alive, but very low. I mean, the music on that street is so loud and
I
the
know.
ambience so bad that it's killing us. If
We
you
just
move
don't
that-
want any more loud,
If you
loud,
move that
loud.
place to south of Fifth or to another place, it would be like triple the sales. We're just, honestly, it's been challenging investment, but we are Miami Beach. We live not born love Miami Beach. No, my kids
It's been a
born
tough
here,
summer, I think, for
Yeah,
everyone.
it's also
Up,
slow
no,
season,
no.
so.
It's,
All
and
right.
I think it'll start
And
picking up.
anything that our neighbor, any complaint, we're willing to work with anyone.
Yeah, well, thankfully, we haven't had any, so. Is there anybody else in chambers to speak on this item? You are? Come on up.
I think he's a hotel.
Good morning. So my name is Juan Pablo Donofrio. I own the Shepley Hotel, which is the neighbor to the south to the Donatella restaurant. So I must say that they've been open for 3 months. We have zero complaints so far. We were very afraid. We were here months ago when we had this meeting. Michael was in our property when the sound tests were made. It was very clear that anything above ambient level was a killer for us, not only for the noise itself, but for the vibrations. And it's very easy for you to relate with an hotel experience. You go inside a room, if you immediately listen to your neighbor's music, there's a problem there right away. So I want to say that we are in favor of their current operation. I got lost in the descriptions of the.
So just so you know, they're going to stay ambient.
Exactly.
This just allows them, if they want to have a violinist or a DJ, but the music level has to stay the same.
Exactly. So the only thing that frightens me in these things is when we have to be very sophisticated with the rules and who's going to be there to actually impose things. I'm 100% for the ambience thing. We will be opposing any non-ambience music.
Those are
This is
conditions.
pretty much our take.
The CUP doesn't allow that, so you're okay.
And so far, you can confirm there has been no issues at the hotel, there's no complaints so far?
I couldn't listen to that.
I said, so far, you can confirm
No,
that
no,
there's been
so
no
far,
complaints?
it's been amazing, it's been very slow. I guess as it gets busy, it's gonna be a different chapter. I'm afraid when.
Well, the music can't change.
Yeah,
So-
so
Not
this
getting
is
any louder.
pretty much our,
And so,
our idea.
you know, our job here is to balance the interests of people like you and then businesses we want to succeed, but we also want hotels and residents to succeed and be happy. And so if you do have a problem in the future by new operations, reach out to Michael,
Oh, absolutely,
planning board, and we can.
And I must say that
Yeah.
they've been impeccable so far, so this is a just assessment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in chambers? Anybody on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom with their hand raised?
Just
Any
a quick
questions?
clarification,
Go ahead,
the
Scott.
times, I just want to be clear, the times that the live music is allowed. Because I know he
Noon
mentioned
to
something
4.
about 6 PM, like we might want to have something at 6 PM. when
We're
Jim Gill spoke.
recommending noon to 4.
I think it's noon to 4.
Noon to 4,
Saturdays
so
and
you're okay
Sundays.
with noon, yeah, because
If you guys allow us just to have it open on the neighbor on the weekends, maybe from 6 to 10 PM. We have a hotel on top. It's 6 rooms and, you know, it's an old building with wood floors. If I put volume, my own customers kill me.
I'm gonna just say that I'm gonna support what staff has recommended, and just out of respect for the hotels, that we stick with this.
You could also, amend the conditions later on, operate, and then
Right.
come back and ask for later hours.
Yeah, like, and how many times?
Well, no, I would suggest you operate for some time, and you can make an application to come back for later hours in the future.
Okay.
Can I ask a question through the chair of the legal? We had this issue south of Fifth, First Amendment rights of limiting a specific, I'm shocked to see there's a violin mentioned here, because we had this in south of Fifth, where if you allow a violin, you can allow a drum, an amplified guitar, an amplified sax. Yes, we have sound issues and they can get code, but doesn't it open up to any instrument?
So that's a great
Legally.
question. The situation with South of Fifth several years ago was a provision in our code that distinguished between types of entertainment, and that had to be amended. The reason you're seeing in this conditional use permit a DJ and a solo violinist is because that's what the applicant has applied for. So,
Okay.
so the applicant is only seeking to have a DJ and solo violinist.
So he would have to come back if he wanted a sax.
That's correct, yes.
What we thought is imagine that a proposal but it's, if you go and see the place, you're gonna understand that we cannot.
No, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't
But
misunderstanding.
thank you very
Yeah,
much.
You were talking about the brunch play, I remember that. But thank you, appreciate
Thank you.
it. All right, someone want to move it?
I'll move it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, with all the conditions mentioned by staff. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The CUP was granted.
Thank you
You'll-
very much. God bless
All right.
everyone, and please promote Donatella.
Good luck.
We'll come over. Thank you.
Next time, wear a shirt or billboard when you're up here, you know?
Yeah.
All right, the next is Planning Board File 250757, 1426A Alton Road, application for reapproval of the CUP.
And this application begins on page 47 of the board packages. This is an application requesting the reapproval of a conditional use permit for a neighborhood impact establishment consisting of an alcoholic beverage establishment with entertainment and an occupant load above 199 persons. Now, as noted in our report, the applicant is requesting reapproval for the operation of the existing Foxhole Bar, which was initially approved by the planning board back on March 27th of 2012. Before that date, the bar was operating for many years, but without an entertainment component. The board added entertainment to their license for operation back in 2012. Foxhole Bar temporarily ceased operations in 2021 due to undergo extensive renovations, which stretched over several years. Now, the code does require that when there's an approved conditional use that remains idle or unused in whole or part for a continuous period of 6 months or for 18 months within any 3-year period, whether or not the equipment, fixtures, or structures remain, should be required to seek reapproval of the conditional use from the planning board. That's why the applicant's before you today. The operation remains substantially consistent as it was previously approved, with an occupancy load of 254 persons and 60 seats over 2 levels. The hours of operation would not exceed noon to 5 a.m. Now, the current code in this area does restrict hours to 2 a.m., but for establishments that received a BTR prior to, I think it's April of 2015, they can continue those operating hours.
It's the same location as it
The
was?
same location,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
It's entered off on the side
Yeah,
street. Now, with this reapproval of the CUP, we have updated to reflect the typical requirements of a new CUP. This would include an annual progress report before the board. So in the future, they're going to come before you every year for a progress report. We've also updated the conditions in terms of the applicable code sections. The applicants here, to answer any questions, we are recommending that this be approved in accordance with the conditions in the draft final order, which starts on page 52 of the board packages.
Did you add any conditions from the prior?
We added a condition regarding the progress report on an
Annual
basis,
progress
yes.
report, okay. Is that it?
And just that the applicant shall provide access to code, planning and building when needed. That's another typical condition we add as part of any new CUP.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Okay, sir? Any disclosures on this one from the
No.
board? No disclosures? Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Angel Febres, resident of Miami Beach since 1999. Sorry, where is that?
There you go.
There you go.
I think it's on. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name's Angel Febres. I've been a resident of Miami Beach since 1999 over at 5151 Collins. We also have operated Foxhole since 2012 right here on Alton Road between Alton and West Avenue. We were in front of the planning board so many years ago. Ever since then, we've never been called to the planning board. We've never had a progress report. We've never had code compliance. We've never had any violations. Basically, we are here more of a technicality to get Foxhole, granted.
We've been open now again since December. And again, 0 code compliance violations, 0 noise ordinance violations. It's just basically a regular watering hole for the neighborhood. And
You still have the sports bar TVs, you still have all that?
everything.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we sure do. Yeah, I believe, probably most of everybody at Miami Beach has been to Foxhole.
Yeah.
So with
I used to
that,
see him stumbling out at 3 a.m. No, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was me picking you up.
so yeah, with that, we would just like to.
I'm glad you're back. It's a fun place.
Thank you very much. And yeah, with that, that's about all I have to say.
Okay, you have anything to add?
No, I'm part of the new Foxhole.
Okay,
since it's
I didn't know
been-
if you wanted to say anything.
Yes,
Okay.
no, I second everything that he says, and,
Okay.
thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Belushi, has helped us
Okay,
through this
anybody in
process.
chambers speak on this? Anyone on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom with their hand raised?
Okay,
The only question I have is, they're going through this to get around the 2 a.m.?
no,
It's not to get around, it's just,
they're
They were
grandfathered.
But are they,
They were closed
they have
longer
to
than
get
6 months,
this
so
to
they
get
have to come back.
grandfathered? Have they been operating to 5 a.m. now?
Yes, we have.
Oh, okay.
We've been operating since 5 a.m. since 2012.
maybe you can go over the
Every
recent
day,
renovations
okay.
and the timeframe it took you?
They
the extended
Only
timeframe?
because it's been dormant, they have to reapply for the
Right.
CUP. That's all.
Okay.
It's the same
I mean,
CUP
it's
they
been
had
dormant.
before.
When did it, it's been dormant, when did you reestablish?
December 30th, 2024.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, they're a great operation.
No,
They-
I've
yeah.
heard of the Foxhole. I haven't
Yeah.
been, but
You're welcome to come.
All right.
I used to be up
Someone
that
want to move it?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, sir, good luck.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you very
So
much.
Maybe I
Thank
can
you,
come
Mr.
watch-
Belushi,
maybe
for
I
all
can
your help.
Watch a dolphin win. There.
Are you open
There's
before
no amount of
midnight?
drinking that can help you with that.
Are you open at 10 p.m.? Okay, because I have a bedtime.
All right, next one is Planning Board File 250741, 1100 Lincoln Road.
And this staff report begins on page 59 of the board packages.
Yeah.
PB 25-0741 for 1100 Lincoln Road. This is an application requesting conditional use approval for a neighborhood impact establishment, including indoor entertainment with an occupant content exceeding 199 persons. Now, this project repurposes an existing 78,000 square foot, 18-screen movie theater, the Regal Cinema site at 1100 Lincoln Road, into a new museum featuring interactive art exhibits and ancillary food beverage service. There's no proposed changes to the structural, parking, or loading changes as part of this operation. The applicant will go through in details how one may traverse through from the ground floor up to the third floor and through the exhibits. Proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. We did note that, and Thursday through Saturday would be 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. We did note as part of their transportation analysis that this proposed use would reduce their expected weekday PM peak hours by 190 trips, would be reduction in intensity compared to the movie theater operation. I know we've received lots of public comment regarding trying to keep the Regal Cinemas where they are. Staff cannot do anything to force, or the board cannot do anything to force a movie theater to remain in this location.
Well, so I have a question about that, because we got thousands of emails about that. I mean, what has the current user indicated any desire to stay there?
I mean, not that I'm aware of, no. I mean,
Right, because
I know
the
from my-
letters make it seem like we have the ability to keep the theaters there and
No,
not
we-
let them do what they want to do.
I don't-
We don't have that power.
And I'd like to say something about
But,
that
but
as
about,
well.
I just want to make sure I understand. So
Yes.
the current operator is not indicating any desire to stay. So
Correct.
they're leaving regardless.
Yes.
So it's a matter of what replaces it.
Or it
All
could
right.
just
And
remain.
just
So I want the public to know that we're not getting rid of your movie theater.
I used to go to the movies all the time. Since COVID, I've gone to the movies once. So-
No, I understand that, but the letters from the residents would suggest that we have the power to keep the movie theater there, and we don't.
They're
Just want that to be understood, because I hate to make the public think we're disregarding their concerns and emails, but they're not really sensible.
We're not landlords.
Correct.
They're leaving, and, movies have changed over time. Now we have streaming, we have Netflix, we have Amazon, we have all these things. And we're going to have vacant theaters all across the country. And I don't think people really realize that it's going to take you can either have an empty space that's going to stay there forever, which it likely could, or you could have some, vision. So I just want to, again,
Right.
say that this is happening.
Right.
So,
I mean, we'd all love the theater there, but they're not staying there. Before you start, any disclosures on this item?
I used to go to Regal all the time.
same, but,
All right.
Used to.
Sir, go
yeah,
ahead.
used to.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is Paul Savage with offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami, Florida. And before I get into this presentation and into the nitty-gritty, there are 4 things that I want to say. Number one, I want to recognize and thank our city's professional staff, principally Michael Belush, as he and Debbie transition. They have worked tirelessly in a manner that as the baton is passed over, the baton is not being dropped. They are actually covering Zooms and meetings and emails and reviews and doing double work essentially to make sure that the business of the city is promptly and accurately conducted and also to the benefit of the applicants. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, Debbie, and we look forward to Debbie joining us. Secondly, I want to thank this board. It's always my pleasure to appear before this board, and I appreciate your sophistication and your service to this board. So thank you. It's my pleasure to see you again, and good morning. Item 3 is, it sounds like the board gets what I was going to say, so I'll just make it very short. The cinema is leaving. As a matter of public record in the federal bankruptcy filings nationally, both this cinema operator and others are in very tough times since the pandemic by virtue of cultural changes and evolutions that was mentioned, the advent of streaming. Legacy media is changing and evolving. And so the cinema is, and I've seen all the emails, and I love the theater and the cinema. We all like to go there. But it is leaving and closing no matter what this application does. And we cannot compel that business to be fruitful. So that, it sounds like you got it. And then the last and 4th thing is that this use is unusual. And I did not understand it. I didn't understand what it was, and the name wasn't clear to me. And I was concerned about some of these pop-up so-called museums in Wynwood where it's for Instagram and you take a picture next to a 14-foot ice cream cone or something, and it's cute and it's funny. And I thought maybe this was like a low-budget, bad choice we were going to have to make. But in fact, as I came to learn and become friends with Mr. Burke and learn about his vision and his excellent architect team who has worked in Disney, Universal Studios, and other facilities where patron movement and circulation is really their bread and butter, this is going to be awesome. This is really cool. It's going to have not only the most advanced technological interactivity that's very newfangled, but also rooms of legacy blue chip art that you will, it will be a proper bona fide art museum. And so we're not going to have this vacant, odd building in the community. This is great. So with that, I want to go ahead and click through our presentation. This is a render. This is a front page. This is a render of, and Steve will describe sort of going through this, how long it will take, and what you will experience. These are our members, our team members. I have Brian Park here from BH Properties, who's been a fantastic owner of the facility. Of course, Steve is here with Superhuman. He's the president and principal of that entity. And then we have our architecture firm, like I said, who's done work in Disney, the latest Universal Park, and including the Harry Potter parks.
Quick question, does this concept exist somewhere else, or is this something brand new to the?
Steve will get to that. There are places, there's one in there, it's not his, but there are examples in Tokyo and Amsterdam. There's smaller examples in Miami. This new sort of experiential where and there might be lasers, there might be fog, there might be smells, to interact with the art. So just to put our feet on the ground, this is the site here. I will say that it should have a little sliver cut off where the Banana Republic contributing structure is. That is not implicated in this. This is only the modern 90s era theater building. We're not touching the Art Deco building on the end. just to make that clear. This is the old site plan as built in the 90s with the seating, et cetera. And those rooms are going to be essentially the same, except all the seating taken out so that you can have changeable event demonstration spaces and art spaces. This is the existing condition that we all know very well. It's been there since the 90s. If you go in there now, there's really like a skeleton crew left for the movies now. What we're here, as Michael Baluch summarized, we're here on a conditional use permit to allow for entertainment and alcohol service at this site. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Steve Burke, the principal of Superhuman, and he's going to talk about just what this is exactly, what you can expect to experience, and the flow through the facility. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to do my best to summarize 5 years and millions of dollars of my investment in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So I'm going to try and get through this as fast as possible.
Go ahead, if you need more time, go ahead.
Thank you. So I've been an art fan and an art enthusiast for the last couple decades. I've been to 150 museums worldwide. As you all may know, experiential has really caught on since COVID and the original Van Gogh Museum, which was essentially just projected images on walls with some screensaver type things. This is not what Superhuman is. Superhuman is the first of its kind. You asked, is there something similar? I would say it's sort of a blend between Team Labs in Tokyo and the Museum of Modern Art in New York. No one's ever made an experiential with storytelling, with show elements, with Disney architects and engineers, and with Picasso and Andy Warhol and Alexander Calder, Marc Chagall, Jacob Agam. We have millions of dollars of art coming into this museum, and what makes this really unique is we're using the infrastructure of the existing theaters. We're not changing everything. We're not doing anything to the exterior. We are essentially giving you a room-by-room experience where you'll go from Theater 1 into Theater 2, Theater 2 into Theater 3, 3 into 4, about 50 people per group, so it's never going to feel crowded. You won't just buy a ticket and wander the museum. It's very, very organized and structured, the same way you would see a structure of traffic flow at Disney World or Universal Orlando. As you see, this is our proposed circulation. So I'm sure we are all familiar with the Regal. We've all been there. This was my theater that I went twice a month for the past maybe 10 or 15 years until I started not going to the theater. And I think we're all a little bit guilty of that. Just for the public record, I am not the reason why this theater has struggled. Superhuman's not the reason why we're removing your movie theater. This is a trend that's happening, and if you go on a Friday or Saturday night, you will see that the theater has 20, 30 people at most. So what we're proposing is to not let the building go dark, to do something really unique and amazing, a huge investment both on my part and the part of my investors. And the way we're doing this exhibition is as follows. So you see the very first theater, when you go up that long escalator, will essentially be our ticketing room. This is where you get your ticket. This is where you get your QR code scanned. And every single visitor of Superhuman will receive a bracelet with NFC technology that's going to track your experience throughout the theater and also tell us which scripts we've given you in each of the rooms. Why do I mention that? Because Superhuman is not a one and done experience. If any of you have been to Super Blue, you've noticed it rarely changes. You'll go once and you've seen it. What we're doing with Superhuman is technologically unique. Each room is going to have 3 or 4 different scripts per room. And when you get your bracelet and you go through the museum, let's say you have friends visiting from New York 2 months later, you're not going to go, oh, I already went to that Superhuman. I have no reason to go. We will make sure it's a completely unique experience for the visitors each and every time, and that's something that's never been done before. So as you see here, after you get into the ticketing room, which is going to look something like this, you go into exhibit number 1, which is our scanning pods. We have 25 of these scanning pods, which are double-sided, and you're going to tap your bracelet to the scanning pod. It's going to scan your face. And that is going to be our way of knowing how to personalize the experience for you, because your face is going to appear in many of the exhibits themselves. We have a room that's going to look like a traditional museum gallery. You'll be able to tap your bracelet, And Brian, you'll be in the Mona Lisa with the long hair looking at you as you walk by. Your whole family can be in the Last Supper. And there's going to be original pieces and digital pieces combined to make a really unique type of gallery room. So these scanning pods is the first part of the experience, which begins the high technology that's going to allow Superhuman to be a different experience every time and to customize the experience for each of the users. The image on your right is a volumetric screen that's going to be hanging from the trees. That's where your face will appear in the Tree of Life.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's 5 years of my life has gone into this, so I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And I'm not going to go through the entire creative plans, but just give you a basic idea of what makes this really unique and special. See, these are some of the other renderings. Now, this tunnel has already been built in Amsterdam by an incredible team. It exists in the Amaze Museum. Some of the installations that we're doing exist in other museums around the world. They're my favorite installations. So we're not reinventing the wheel completely. We are designing a lot of new installations. We are doing really, really amazing things with the engineers and architects that work for Disney and Universal. But this particular one has already been built, and it's spectacular. Here's a rendering of showing what a traditional museum gallery would look like. But as I mentioned, this is going to be a group show that rotates out every 9 to 12 months, 4 different artists, and you'll be able to appear in the different artists' work alongside their traditional oil paintings and acrylic paintings. This was a room designed by the creative team at AOA. As I mentioned, AOA architectural team for Universal and Disney. They had a part in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. They had a part in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And this is a room we're using projection mapping technology, volumetric screens, jumping water, as you'd see at Epcot Center, to tell a story about conservation. This rendering is a room that's already been built. It's called Trumpet Flowers, built by an artist duo called Amigo and Amigo out of Australia. I first saw it in Las Vegas. Truly incredible piece. Each of those buttons plays a different musical sample, so 50 people together can press the buttons and play jazz with one another. I saw it in Las Vegas. Children love it, and that leads me to this is a family-friendly. This is not a nightclub. This is a museum that we are putting along the lines of a MoMA or a Chicago Art Institute that becomes a tourist attraction, but also friendly for families and friendly for residents, so that it becomes something that we can be proud of as a city. This one's already been built, and what makes this unique is that we could have on Monday, it could be jazz, on Tuesday, it can be electronic music, on Wednesday, it could be country music. All those buttons can be programmed to be different musical samples, again, so that it's not the same experience every time you come. That's a quick presentation on some of the renderings.
So you wanted several, is there a liquor license affiliated with this property?
They will get one, yes.
Have to get one.
And there is one with the theaters. The code was amended a while ago to allow the theater to sell alcohol.
Got it, okay. And we're gonna, a quick question now, is this something where people join as a member, you pay every time you go, or how does that work?
So we're looking at tickets approximately $39.99 to $49.99. We'll have annual memberships. We also believe we'll have private events in this space, Art Basel, Jazz Festival, Food and Wine Festival. We're designing the finale.
They would have to get special event permits for like those type of things?
Anything outside of the occupancy or
Right.
hours would require
Okay.
special permit.
All right. All right, so let's, is there anyone in chambers to speak on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
If
We
if
have
I
some
could,
people-
One speaker.
if I could just conclude.
Oh, Lyle, come on up.
Oh.
Well, hold on, if you haven't concluded your presentation, conclude, go ahead.
Right, so in conclusion, we would respectfully request your favorable action on the application for a conditional use permit with the conditions as outlined by staff, which we accept. And I was going to read into the record a little bit of the Lincoln Road Business Improvement District. They submitted a letter into the record that this museum will be a welcome and critical component of the ongoing revitalization of Lincoln Road and make it an even more attractive destination during Art Basel and other art-themed festivals and events. And this new cultural venture will serve both longtime visitors and visiting tourists, all of which are critical to the continued improvement and growth of the Lincoln Road business community. They were very excited. We presented to them. They started imagining restaurant reservations being made around a family visit to this. So it's been very well received, and no one can explain that better than Lyle, who'll be able to explain their position even better. So I don't need to come back up here, but if there are
you'll-
people
if
who
we need you,
complain or
right.
have an issue, I would like a little bit of rebuttal,
Sure.
if that's okay, through the chair.
I would like
Mine
to.
will come up, but since I know there's people on Zoom, I hope you're listening. If you're calling in to say, don't let the movie theater leave, please understand that's not an issue. We can't prevent that. So anyone on Zoom that wants to talk about this project, you're welcome. But again, your comment shouldn't be, don't let us lose our movie theater. Thanks. Lyle?
I don't want to lose the movie theater. Lyle Stern, 690 Lincoln Road. I come here both as the president of the Lincoln Road Business Improvement District and also as a resident and long-term business owner on the beach. No pun intended, this is a superhuman effort. You know what goes into taking a project this size, of this magnitude, both in terms of capital and uplift and city approvals, et cetera. I think the reason why we're so excited about it at the bid is because it checks several boxes. One, it takes a very, very difficult, large space, which would be very difficult to backfill because of its construction, especially with the kinds of uses that our citizens have said they don't want to see on Lincoln Road, the big box type users. It gives us a significant cultural footprint. It gives us an investor, developer, business owner who's well capitalized, has spent a tremendous amount of time going through the process. So we're excited about it, and what I'm especially excited about is there's no lag time. If they can get through the city approvals and get through their building permits, which they've already started, their demo permits, then we'll be one of the few cities in the country that will have a movie theater box that, as the theater is exiting, will be immediately redeployed and be redeployed in a use that our citizenry and our tourists want, which is culture. So we're excited about that opportunity. We're excited for the theater to not be empty. Look, we used to go to the theater all the time. Quite candidly, I'm not sure the last time we went other than maybe Top Gun. So we're excited about this particular use for the box. We're excited about what Steve and his investors have put together. And we're excited about the ability to tell the world that this is what's coming and not having for our community a big empty box on Lincoln Road. So I urge your support and I thank you for today.
Okay. Anybody else in chambers? Okay, Zoom?
We have some colors online. The first one is Lou.
Hi, all. Good morning. My name is Lucia Prado, and you've made it quite clear this is going to be approved and the theater is dead and there's nothing that you can do. I just wanted to highlight that this theater has been here since 1999. In 2022, BH Properties took over that and acquired that theater. In 2023, they agreed to lower the rent after Regal almost bankrupted. And for 2 years, they've been paying whatever they agreed on, and there's been no threat of this movie theater closing. Steve Burke has been online smearing the theater, very hostile, very just aggressive demeanor, writing to people about, his project that he obviously will have passed due to all of his efforts. But I just want to clarify that at this point, BH Properties is the landlord to Regal. And if Regal can't pay what the superhuman museum will pay with its millions, and obviously we understand how the American capitalistic system works, as Steve tried to highlight that none of us understand, those of us who would love the theater to stay, which understood. All I want to highlight here is that even if Regal wanted to stay, they wouldn't be able to stay because, again, their landlord has whatever, lease or month to month or whatever their current situation is. They're even hiring online. If you go see on LinkedIn, Regal's still hiring for Miami. I obviously I don't know what their full involvement in is. I just want to say that is technically their landlord. And if you're in an apartment and they say, hey, it's going to be $5,000 and you can't afford that, then I understand that you have to leave. But it's not by a full choice, but rather, hey, we're making this so expensive because we're going to have this immersive thing where it's going to be $50 a pop to go versus, a $10 to $20 movie ticket. And I also want to say that there's a petition online that's been signed by 200 plus people. As you said, you received thousands of emails. The residents don't want this museum. The residents want a movie theater despite the defeat. But I just wanted to say that. And yeah, good luck to our community. Hopefully this isn't a temporary measure to erase 30 years of cinema.
Okay, Lou, hold on, because Elizabeth wants to respond to you.
Ma'am. I just wanted to say that I understand where you're coming from. I love the movie theater also, but they are bankrupt. They have filed bankruptcy and they've done it twice. They are closing stores, they're closing their theaters all across the country. And as much as none of us want to lose our theater, we are losing the theater. So it doesn't, and by the way, I don't know if you or anybody realizes that to have a movie, even to get a license to play the movie, you're in the negative, you're in the red just by having it and trying to stay open. We really can't have a vacant space, and we just can't. So I hope that helps.
But how would it be a vacant space if Regal hasn't even announced they're leaving? They're technically
They-
being evicted. You want to see it that way, or like there's been no publicity on this measure whatsoever? Like, and again, Regal is still hiring. If you're hiring people,
How do you
it
know
doesn't-
that that's a, I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm just saying, how do you even know that that's still a current ad?
It was posted 12 hours ago on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is pretty accurate. And if you go into the theater, which we often go, it's functioning as normal. There hasn't, in 2023, that's when they released those many news articles saying Regal's bankrupt, they're leaving this, they're closing all these theaters. Oh, Regal signed the lease with BH Properties, they're staying on board. There's been no article saying that Regal is leaving the Miami Beach theater. The only thing that's been brought up is this application for this museum, which would then
Right, but
leave
ma'am,
Regal-
when you say nobody wants the museum, that's under the assumption that the theater would stay. Do I understand you?
that's the assumption that right now.
Right, it's not that you're against the museum, but you just don't want the theater to leave.
Exactly. And also there's so many vacant buildings in Miami Beach, and Steve Burke has his eyes set on the one movie theater we have.
Okay, when is the lease up? Do you even know?
I have no idea. We don't really care or get into that.
Right, no, I'm just saying, I mean, is the theater looking to vacate as soon as
I have
possible?
no idea.
You don't know? Okay.
Just, sorry, on a technical matter, I do need to swear in Lucia. And we can-
Lou, do you swear that what you testified to is accurate and true?
Do I swear to what?
Hi, sorry, do you swear that the testimony you just given is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm confused about the testimony. I'm saying what I've read
I have to,
online.
I have to swear you in because this is a quasi judicial hearing, and I did not get to swear you in before you started.
Yeah, you just gave your opinion. You can say yes, that's what you feel.
Okay.
Do you
Yes,
swear?
that's what I feel. I didn't hear anybody else be sworn in throughout the meeting, so.
You're the
sorry
first
about it.
speaker. Thank you.
Can I make a comment? I
Do
agree.
me a favor, let's finish the Zoom hearing and then we'll all comment here. Do you mind if I let the public finish, or is it something about that last speaker?
It's something about the
Okay,
last.
go ahead.
And it just has to do with, and maybe Larkin's team can respond, but what is missing is BH Group saying that Regal Theaters was offered a new lease and they rejected it. Regal Theater said they want to walk away. It has nothing to do with the applicant, but we are talking about a important civic. I mean, when I think about it, I know times have changed, and I'm an old person, so I'm going to make a reference, but even Mayberry RFD had a movie theater, and Miami Beach is now going to be left without a movie theater. There are movie theaters on Brickell, there's some in Aventura. Why, this board cannot control that, but I think we need at least an explanation, not of superhuman, but of the owner, and did he make a good faith effort to keep a movie theater there, to talk to them, to talk to AMC before they decided to do this. Not that we can impact it or that I'm a commissioner, but isn't that a minimum requirement? Shouldn't the people of our city know why we're losing this movie theater? And if it is, oh yeah, Regal's closing, they don't want to be here, then that's good.
I think, Keith, what you're commenting about is about the planning overall of the city, like a city of
Yeah,
Miami
it's a
Beach.
board
And I
planning
think
board.
those are discussions we should be having. I just think it's important today because there was so much confusion in the last 2 months of people writing to us and keep bringing up the movie theater as a loss for the city, which is something the planning board need to discuss. But for today, I just think it's important that we don't go in the direction of discussing the terms of a lease for something, because we're going to have callers and so if we're encouraging that kind of discussion,
I'm not encouraging the discussion, I just just think it would be beneficial to the applicants, of the owner, to explain to the community why Regal is leaving.
They're not
Yeah,
making
I
enough
think
Respect,
that they,
and
money.
they don't have
but
to-
I think they did explain it, which is the bankruptcies. I mean,
They're
movie theaters
bankrupt.
around
Well,
I just,
mean, did Regal make an
I don't think
announcement?
it's our business to get into a lease agreement and who was offering better, lease terms or whatever. I mean, if we, as the planning board, we have certain oversight. If we want to suggest an ordinance that gives tax incentives or FAR increase to movie theaters, then that's something we can recommend to
And
the.
by the way, the same for gas stations.
Right. Gas
They're
stations,
disappearing.
storage units, there's a lot of
Right.
things
We're
that we've
definitely
seen
like
over the
to see
years,
those things, for sure.
disappearing or that are important. But here, there's a movie theater that's gone bankrupt, that's been struggling for years. It's a massive, massive space, much more than they need in there. And, there's something that's really going to sounds really incredible, huge investment to the neighborhood. The businesses on Lincoln Road want it. And there's a handful of residents who I understand, want this opportunity to continue going to the movies. What I would say to that, my sentiment is we want this to succeed. We want it to do really well. We hope that you do well. One of the things that we all see over the years is projects that cater to residents and encourage residents to come and visit. Those are the ones that do better because word of mouth spreads. Joe's Stone Crab has been there for years. They're accessible because, there's certain things on their menu that they leave accessible to everybody. And so, just encouraging you to, encourage residents to come for discounted rates on certain weekends, whatever it may be. But I think that's what's going to get, community buy-in and get your, support for the many years to come, hopefully.
All right, let's go back to public hearing.
We have another caller, Grace.
Hi, Grace. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Hi. So I am, obviously I understand that we can't go against what this is going on, that this has already been basically passed on by the current landlord. But I think what has happened here is that there's been a lack of approach to the community. The previous person mentioned that there is a petition out there. It's been shared on Facebook groups. People have been outcried about this, that they don't want the Superhuman Museum. Some people have said that they would rather have a theater that has more indie films or more diverse films, but they want the one theater that we do have in our community. Because the community that we have, there are a lot of senior citizens, there's a lot of families, and I understand the Superhuman Museum is supposed to cater to families, the youth, tourists, etc. However, I think we are doing a disservice for the community that we already have, that have already spoken out against it. And the individual who wants to make the Superhuman Museum is making it competitive to MoMA, but unfortunately they don't have any industry experience when it comes to residential art, and it's difficult for a local to be understanding that because it's not something that they have done in the past. So they're doing something completely new. We don't know if it's actually going to work out. It's all hypothetical, but you're taking the one land or one community group that we have. The film industry is tanking, as people have been saying. However, I don't think that is happening. I think a lot of more youthful people are actually becoming more film cinephiles. They're more interested in film. Just for instance, 35 millimeter, that's coming back. Like they're booming in sales. Like those things are coming back, and I think if we take that away from our community, we're doing a disservice to the community that's already had an outcry. And
Okay,
that's
Grace,
why
I have a question, but you're again making the assumption that the theater wants to stay there. Is that your assumption?
It's not an assumption. The theater, when we spoke to some of the theater people, they were shocked to hear this. They had no information about this.
What do you mean by theater people? Did you
like
speak
the
to the
managers?
landlord or the people that run the theater?
I spoke to a few managers, and they were shocked by it. They didn't even hear about the proposal. When we told them about it, they said, "Oh, these guys were coming in to look at the building," and they had no idea why. And so there hasn't been a lot of communication when it comes to the community, nor the people who are actually holding the current lease. And when we spoke to them about it, they said they've been paying their lease, they've been paying the rent, and The thing is, like, there's been a lot of complaints online too about the escalator not working, the AC not working. So the landlord's not doing the job for Regal to help them be a booming business. Like, I've been in the building before and complained about the AC, and they're like, we've told the landlord, and they haven't taken care of it. So there's an issue for me as a resident who's seen this happen to a business, that they're not being helped or supported by their actual landlord. There's been multiple reviews saying there is no AC, the escalators aren't working, which is an issue because that's the landlord. For us as a resident, so
Ma'am?
that's the issue.
I just, Regal has announced its closing for this location. The hiring that y'all are seeing online might be for other locations in Miami. It is on the closing list as part of the bankruptcy notice. They rejected the lease as party to the bankruptcy. So I just wanted
Yeah,
that-
so we just
that to be
don't have
clear.
that power that you guys assume we have.
I think the people that are calling, you got to make sure you're detaching your sentiment to losing a business that you wish was still there to what we're reviewing today. So if you treated it as a business that you were happy to see leave, you'd be welcoming this new business probably differently. So I just think it's important people who are calling that they distinguish between the two here.
I'd say Lyle, find another movie theater. There you go. Seems like there's a lot of interest all of a sudden.
Let's continue the public hearing.
That concludes the online callers.
Okay.
And I just wanted to.
So wait, Elizabeth, just so, can you publish where you've just,
There's an article that I can send to you guys.
From where?
And also.
so Regal formally announced
Yes.
they are closing
Yes,
this
they
location?
are closing this. It was rejected. And also, I wanted to say something. In retail, there's triple net leasing, and the AC, the escalators, all that kind of stuff, that's the tenant's responsibility, and they are not making enough money to cover those costs. So I want people to understand, nobody wants to lose the theater. I don't want to lose it. There's all that sentimental, stuff where you want to go and have popcorn and get all the extra butter in the bottom and the middle and all that stuff. But this is 2025 and almost 26, and this is just, these are changing times. I just want everybody to understand that.
I think it's important for people to understand better the concept of, this is new, but for having experienced some of the comparison to the Team Lab in Tokyo, and these are usually fantastic, museums that are sensorial, that attracts locals, attracts the tourism. And I think that what Lincoln Road needs is a combination of those two things. And so I think we're extremely lucky that we're finding tenants to fill into this big location, and if it can be done pretty quickly. So I understand people are upset about the movie theater, but this is something that maybe people are thinking is going to be gimmicky. But I think that we are looking at a business that can have a huge potential impact on Lincoln Road that we need right now, right? So
just for the edification of all the people calling in, can you take us or explain to us, what is the current lease with the theater up? When do you guys take over? If this is approved,
So we did have some slides prepared that illustrate that the ownership is in the red based on collection of
ownership of the property or the theater?
The ownership of the property, BH Properties.
Okay.
Okay, which is also my client and owns both the theater and the Banana Republic Art Deco building.
Right.
Which is not part of this application. But we have put information into the record to show that, as the caller described, our rental income is based on the income of the patrons. It's based on the sales rather, and that based on that ever decreasing stream that's getting smaller and smaller, the carrying costs of the building, and with inflation, and it's a large building, is getting larger and larger.
Right, I understand
So
the
we're in
landlord's
red.
interest, but
Yeah,
my
yes, sir.
question to you is, what's the current lease with the movie theater?
Okay, so, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm really not competent to answer that exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn over this testimony to my client, a vice president at BH Properties.
Okay.
Brian Park, and
Okay.
he'll answer that for you.
Yeah, you've sat here and heard these comments, so I guess what the people, what I and the public want to know is, is every effort being made to keep this theater? If the theater said we're out, then obviously that's the answer. But if you could just kind of elaborate on that situation, it'd be great.
Happy to. Good morning, everyone.
Just introduce your name and your
Brian
affiliation.
Park, Executive Managing Director. I'm an owner's representative.
Of the landlord.
Of 1100 Lincoln.
Okay.
So we've owned the property. We actually purchased it as a note. We did a deed in lieu foreclosure and have outright owned it for, call it, 2 years. And then since we've owned it, we went through Regal's Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And since then have given, I think it was mentioned that they're on a very reduced rent. We're not covering our operating expenses. And similar to everyone, just us as a company, this is our fourth, maybe third project that has a movie theater box. And we're working with cities like in Seattle and in Dallas to try to reposition these boxes. And we've been working with this particular operator quite closely to have movie theater sales return. So they've, since their restructuring, we've been at a loss. A reduced rent, which at least allows them to rebuild their sales, which they haven't done. They're not close to pre-pandemic levels. So at the current state of their lease, they're month to month. We've left them month to month. Their lease expired, I believe, around March or April. And we've been month to month with them.
But just in full transparency, have they indicated a desire to leave, or was their preference just keep lowering the rent even though you're operating at a loss and they would stay there?
Yeah, so we have expressed at some point we have to get to either close to a market level rent or at least a process to get there. Their sales are not there and they're not ready to commit to get there. So that's kind of the current state. They have threatened to close because for them, I can't share too much about their struggle, but let's say their business is having challenges for various reasons. Bottom line, their sales are not
All
back to
right,
normal.
so if I understand the law correctly, even if we said no to this project, you as a landlord could, if they're month to month, you could just terminate their lease and they're done anyway, correct?
Correct.
That's completely within your control and power.
Yes.
Okay.
Or theirs. It's actually mutual.
Right.
Yes.
I appreciate
Right, but if they're month to month, I'm just saying, if they're not paying rent and you're losing money, you could just terminate the lease.
Yes.
Okay. So I want everyone to understand that.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Pete.
You answered my questions.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
All right. Sorry, any other questions from the board?
Just one more question, just curiosity. Not for the board, but speaking as a resident, there are other companies like AMC. Is this the other movie theaters, the national chains that are not interested in picking up a Miami Beach theater? Have you talked to any of them? Have they reached to you?
There's certainly been interest too, but I think the struggle has been a couple of factors, mainly the capital costs that they would have to invest to get the theater back to normal. And it's typical, and they do monitor the sales. All the ticket sales revenue is public information.
Sure.
So they do look at how the theater is performing, and based on that, there's either a very low rent that is proposed, that it's not affordable for us, kind of the same situation. That's ultimately why we decided to hope that Regal would improve their sales and improve their operations. It just hasn't happened. So there's been interest, yes, but there hasn't been a strong commitment to proceed.
And as a resident, that's the transparency.
They have to be able to cover they have to be able to cover their taxes, their insurance, their common
So would
area
it be
maintenance.
fair to
They have
say,
have a business,
I understand.
would it be fair to say that even if this project wasn't on the table right now, that you all would be terminating the lease with the theater anyway, or you would keep them there until you found a tenant that would actually pay? So you could.
We would keep them there until we found a tenant, and that's kind of the situation that we're in currently with Superhuman. It took some time to negotiate, get to a lease structure. They've obviously spent a ton of time coming up with a plan to present to the community, and we're supportive of it. But yeah, we've kept them month to month in hopes of either their application approved or another user would come.
Okay.
Are you finding that, just out of curiosity, are you finding the other places that you have in other parts of the country difficult to lease?
It's a good question. I think every market's different, I would say, but what is consistent is that the theater industry as a whole has been struggling. The sales are just, they've certainly done things, the AMCs, the landmarks, they've certainly made reinvestments to incorporate food and beverage and doing anything they can to bring back patrons. But I think you had mentioned in your introduction, the behavior of movies, of content watching is just completely changed with the introduction of online streaming, the accessibility of it. And it's just the behavior has changed. The volume has been,
Right.
there's been a huge paradigm shift as to how people watch movies. And that's just the reality of today.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, listen, we're all sad to see the movie theater go, but you know, the economic reality is, again, that we don't really have that power to stop this, so.
Nope.
Somebody want to move it?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
And I would like to also say that honestly, we should be really thrilled that we are not going to be left with an empty space, because that's the reality at some point, even if it's not in 2 months or even 4 months, it's leaving. And I hate that, but I mean,
Steve, are you gonna have the gondola from downtown to bring us to the museum? I still remember that proposal, which I think would be cool.
Yeah,
except for hurricanes.
Many people remember that.
He once proposed to have a gondola from Miami to the beach, so,
Oh, that's romantic.
when he ran for mayor, that was many years ago. All right, so we have a first and a second. Can we do a roll call on this one?
Sure, if you want to. This is for approval based upon staff conditions. Mr. Frieden,
Yes.
Ms. Beatty,
Yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
Ms. Latone,
yes.
Mr. Needleman,
Yes.
Mr. Elias,
Yes.
Mr. Cement.
Yes.
All right, wish you the best, Steve.
Please make it special.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, be a
Thank you for the
success,
time.
please.
Okay. All right, we're on to new
I think we
applications.
can go back to the progress report
Oh,
now
is he
that-
here?
Yes.
Mickey? Oh, Mickey's here, all right. We're gonna go back to progress report, planning board file 240715, 1800, 1810, 1818 Michigan Avenue, and 1039 18th Street. Lot split for non-compliance, and we had a very interesting discussion about what the penalty would be for this, so
Well,
hopefully you'll get it rectified.
So again, as I introduced before you came earlier, Mickey, this is before the board due to a violation was issued for noncompliance with the requirements for vacant and abandoned properties by not having the property fenced off. We sent out a clear letter to the applicant back in August, advised him to appear before the board today for a progress report, recommending to hear testimony from the applicant as well as members of the public, and this time recommending that the progress report be continued to the November 4th meeting. With that, turn it over to Mickey Marrero.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mickey Marrero here on behalf of IRRS, the estate of Ivor Rose and Rita, his wife. So as you may recall from when we had the lot split here, this is a very unique lot split application. Originally, wasn't that we were trying to develop anything and create new lots out of nowhere. This was just, these were already 3 lots, but the prior owners did illegal improvements that went over the property lines. So in a very broad interpretation of the code, that does qualify for lot splits. We're fine with that. So we went through the process, and that had to predicate our HPB application, which we did, and now we're in the HPB process. We're hoping to have that HPB application approved already. It's been continued a couple times. We are scheduled for next, we'll be in this room a week from today, and we believe we now have staff's support for the modified application. It will include mostly demolishing that existing home. It is a single-family home that's remaining, and replacing it with essentially the same type of home, but rebuilt above flood and now in a much better condition. So that's what's before. The reason that we still have these violations, and actually while I was, when I missed, when it was originally called, I was meeting with the building official on this very property. The requirement is that we fence off, put a decorative fence. It costs a lot of money. We're hoping to demolish this after we get the HPB approved. So I'm okay with Michael's suggestion of November. By then, we'll have had a ruling from the HPB. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to spend tens of thousands of dollars on fencing and landscaping. We're proposing to come in and demo it right after, and we'd have to redo all that fencing and landscaping.
Is there any fencing now?
Well, there's the 2 homes, there were 3 homes, there was 3 structures originally. The ones that were demolished, yes, they're fully landscaped and decorative fence, all that was done. It's just the one remaining lot that's pending before the HPB. And again, if we spend all that money to landscape and fence it, and then demo it shortly after, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're committed to doing all those things. Just, hoping to get we thought we would have had the HPP application approved by now, but it was continued a couple of times, once for quorum. The last time in July, the board had some comments. We believe we've addressed those comments, and we're scheduled to be heard on Tuesday. And if we get approved then it's going to move quickly into hopefully getting that structure demolished, getting plans in for the new home, and then all these things will resolve themselves. We have another violation that Michael didn't mention, but because illegally 2 units were added, the zoning there is single family. Single-family homes don't need a 40-year. But because the prior owner illegally added 2 units, which were never approved by zoning, never could have been put there, building says you have to do a 40-year because it's multifamily. Again, we're hoping to demolish that building. It's vacant now, nobody's there, so we're not going to do a 40-year for that. But everybody understands, we've been working very closely with staff. There was a lot more violations on these properties that have been resolved. I've been working very closely with code and building and the magistrate, but it's a very unique situation. Our clients inherited this property from the prior owners, and it was in very, very bad shape. So it's been a labor of a lot of sweat equity in getting these things right. Yeah, and we're almost there. So we're okay with his recommendation to come back in November where we'll have a lot more information.
Hold on one second. Anybody here in chambers speak on this item? Is there anybody on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom. We did receive an email from a neighbor regarding concerns with the application.
And I went by the property, and it's a mess.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bad.
Yeah,
what I was going to say is that even though whether or not you guys are demolishing or not, there's a responsibility to the neighborhood to make, not let it be an eyesore.
Yeah.
And if you guys can't put fences, like basic fences and clusios, and you're looking to put money into a whole demo and reconstruction, I mean, come on, it's just a minimum of you guys can be doing.
But it's not a basic fence. What it is it's a decorative fence, and it's fully landscaping. It's when you have a vacant site, that's what you have to do.
Let me clarify something,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
So before they could demolish the structure, they have to get the approval from the Historic Preservation Board. They have to get the full building permit for the new construction, then they can demolish the site. So
Mickey, put the
it's
fence
not-
up.
It's going to be a long time before they demolish the building. So I think they should make an effort to install like a wood fence, which they could do, something that has, not as expensive as a metal fence, but something that would fence off the property, comply with the minimum standards, because it's going to be some time before they're able to demolish the
Yeah,
house.
100%.
And at least, satisfy the condition of
100%, that should be
securing the property.
that should be part of the cost that's
And it's
involved into
dangerous,
it.
too. I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, these are, I have these things in North Beach, and all over the beach. These are just properties that are just a wreck. There's no reason for that. I mean, take some responsibility and just do what's right. That's all.
So, and I will tell you, we get constant requests from code. We've boarded up the windows. We've kept the property safe. There are some wood panels there that are temporarily there just because it does keep the vagrancy out. So we're again, there was probably 90% of the things we've been asked to do, they've done. They've got a full permit for a brand-new seawall. That's, that job's in the 6 figures. There's a lot that's gone into this. And at some point, once we get that HPB, I think Michael's right. We'll work with you to find a fence that works, that's reasonable, because yes, plans have to come in, but they're going to demo it. So we want to make it as reasonable as possible.
Right, demo
We'll
the
work
help. I
with you
think
on
that at some point, very in the near future, you should come in to see, I think isn't there a portion of the fence that's there? So can you add to the fence or?
Yeah, the 1810 and 1818 is fully fenced because those buildings came down, we landscaped it, we planted all the trees, and all that's been done for the better part
But
of
I
the year.
think you could work with us to install the minimum necessary fencing requirements to secure the property.
So we'll meet with you guys, ideally, I think we'll be informed by what happens next Tuesday, and then go from there and work with you to find a fence that makes sense.
Mickey, I think
Go ahead, Scott.
eventually you're going to put up a construction fence there, something for the property. So, I mean, I'm okay, even if it's not a wood fence, something to go up there, but it has to look halfway decent. Maybe even a chain link with the mesh on it, a green mesh or something
Yeah,
that really should.
It can't be, it has to be to code, and that's, it can't
Even
be
a,
mesh.
even a
it can't-
temp, even
They
a,
can't do a construction fence because they don't have a building permit yet for the site.
Yep.
So Michael, what do you want us to do here?
I would suggest continuing the progress report to November.
Right.
With a direction for the property owner to come in to get a permit for a fence that's minimally compliant to secure the property
clean the
before the
property
November
up.
meeting.
All right. So want to move it?
I'll move that.
Okay. Second, Keith?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Thank you.
opposed? All right. So you've
Thank
got
you.
your marching
Thank
orders?
you. Yes.
All right. Okay, new applications, Planning Board 250775, 801 South Point Drive, Unit CU2.
And this staff report begins on page 127 of the board packages. This application first came before the planning board back on March 28th of 2023 for a CUP for a neighborhood impact establishment for a restaurant located at two of the existing ground level commercial spaces at 801 South Point Drive. At that time, due to concerns over residential units above, the board had several conditions of approval, including physical modifications required within the space to make sure that the sound from within the space was not affecting residential units above.
Wait, Mike, what was in the space before?
Another restaurant, I
Was
believe.
this red?
Or it
Was
was
this-
it was vacant
No,
for
this
a
is,
long-
nothing's ever been
It
in
was
this space.
vacant for a year.
Red is across it's the same building, but it's
Okay.
Totally vacant.
Okay.
Got it, okay.
It's
Sorry,
been
go ahead,
vacant for a
Mike.
long time.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
How long has it been vacant?
since the building was been built.
So this is this,
This is the first applicant.
So the sound study that was initially provided, based upon the recommendations for the physical improvements, was based upon a certain sound level. The applicant has since revised that sound level downward and has since suggested modification to those conditions based upon the lower sound levels. We did have that sound study reviewed by our peer reviewer, Arpeggio. They agreed with the sound study, the revised sound study submitted, but they did have some additional recommendations that we've incorporated into our conditions of approval. This included that the floor-mounted subwoofers be installed in vibration isolating mounts, as well as that the commissioning exercise for the sound system should be done utilizing precise sound level limits in terms of both dBA and dBc to ensure that both high and low level frequency sound transmission to the residents is controlled. We included those revised conditions in our conditions of approval, along with the applicant's revised conditions in terms of their physical improvements. So we are recommending that the application be approved, subject to the conditions that we have, the revised conditions noted in our staff report, starting on page 135 of the board packages. That's turned over to
Okay, before you start, any disclosures on this one?
Yeah, couple. One, I was on SOFNA when this first came to approve. This hasn't gone back to SOFNA. I did get an email, I don't know if anyone else did, from Nick, and I asked one question, which I think is pertinent. I can state it now if you like, but I asked if the neighbors had a approval above of this change, and Nick can reply to that. But I can state that normally this would go to SOFNA, and it did not, and I think it's because, in my personal opinion, that the neighbors did not give an affirmative. So
Okay.
it
Right-
doesn't
right
mean
now,
that
this is
we
just
don't
about-
have to agree or disagree. I'm on the planning board, but I do want to disclose that the neighborhood was not involved.
Yeah,
And
just so you know,
there
when
is
I
a-
asked for
and there is-
disclosure,
yeah,
it's whether
but I-
you had communications
I
with-
did communicate with him,
Okay.
and he told me that there was an issue with Maria and their homeowners association.
Okay, any other disclosures?
I got an email from Nick, but didn't respond, sorry.
Okay, Scott? Any-
No, I got the email.
Okay.
I sent it
No,
over to this.
no disclosures.
Everyone the same? Okay.
sent me an email.
Sorry?
I didn't get an email.
Go ahead.
If anyone did receive
Thank you,
an
Nick.
email about this application,
What's that?
if anyone did receive an email about this application, those need to be forwarded to staff so they can be made a part of the record, since this is a.
Oh, I'll forward my.
Okay.
Oh, I always assume they copy stuff, so,
I didn't get an email. I'm jealous.
all right.
I did send it. I don't know, maybe I got
Send
your
it to
address
you.
wrong. Sorry, Ms. Luton.
Go ahead.
No. Nicholas Rodriguez, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, representing Gaia Miami Beach. I'm joined today by Connor Brown, our project manager, Alexei Polyakov from Ownership, who are joining us via Zoom, and Andy Swerdlow, our acoustical consultant, and last but not least, my colleague Michael Larkin. If we could please call up our presentation. So we, as Michael mentioned, we are here asking for a modification to a CUP that was approved back in 2023. Gaia is permitted and building out their space. They took a pause on building out the space when the cost of installing this additional soundproofing that they had agreed to in the original CUP was just too much for them to burden, so they have actually stopped their construction and are seeking this modification, but they are hoping to pick it back up and open before the end of the year. The space is substantially built out. Just for context, this space is at the corner of Washington Avenue and South Point Drive. It's a really prominent corner. It's kind of sad to see that this space has never been activated on this prominent corner. It's been dark. As we know, empty storefronts are not good. It's been kind of a restaurant Armageddon this summer. So Gaia is entering a different market from when they got the CUP approval. So they're looking at ways to improve their chances and staying power on and keep this prominent corner activated. And you see that's the rendering that we previously presented of what it'll look like when it's actually there. So the request today is really to modify condition 6 of the original approved CUP to make it more appropriate for the type of restaurant that's actually proposed. And what happened in 2022, 2023, when we first submitted this application, was that the sound consultant really did a sound study and assumed the worst case scenario. They really modeled it and designed and made recommendations based on like a Poppy Steak or a Komodo or a much more rowdy and lively atmosphere than what is really expected at this restaurant. This restaurant is a fine dining establishment. It's more like Catch or Joe's. You'll see some of the interior renderings that we presented last time before the planning board. And so the soundproofing conditions in condition 6 of the original CUP, they were direct copy and paste of our sound consultant's recommendations for a much louder restaurant. What has come to light is that the restaurant will be a typical fine dining restaurant, just like a Joe's or a Catch, which normally don't provide any soundproofing. But given the fact that we had residential units above, we have always been committed to put soundproofing in and make sure that those residents above do not hear this restaurant at all. So to be clear, the standard here is not changing. The unit owners above will not hear this restaurant, and our sound consultants report and the city's peer reviewer agree that as presented, the units above will not hear this restaurant. And we're agreeing to all of staff's conditions. We have one tweak to condition 6A3. We can return to that at the end if we like, but I just wanted to make you guys aware, just in terms of the measurement of the average distributed sound level rather than just one point source measurement of 75 dBAs. But we can return to that at the end. So just to familiarize you all with the floor plan here, this restaurant, although it has 234 seats, 30 of those seats are outside, so they don't even, and we're already voluntarily committed to not have any music outside. So those 30 seats are not a part of the analysis of the amount of sound that's being generated inside the restaurant. The restaurant is also divided into multiple spaces, so there's not really one big dining room where there's 200 seats and people talking over each other and loud music. It's really divided into a main dining room, a bar, and smaller spaces where the sound is expected to be more contained. So we are aware of a letter that was submitted by the Maria condominium, and we do believe that some of the assumptions and conclusions in that letter are incorrect. And one of the things mentioned in the letter is that this is a 234-seat restaurant and everybody will be in the same room yelling over each other, yelling over the music. That's just simply not the way the restaurant is configured. You can see the red outline is the outline of the tower above, so the residential units sit in that red rectangle. The residential units are not located over the primary portion of the main dining room. They're really located over the bar, some areas of the kitchen, and it is an 8-inch concrete structural slab that's there. Something that was mentioned in the consultant's letter that was submitted was a 6-inch slab. That's just incorrect. It's an 8-inch slab. In some places, it's actually a 12-inch slab. So just getting out ahead of that. So in December of 2022, we did conduct a sound study in connection. We collected data. We went up to the residential units and put a decibel reader, collected data, and made an understanding of the amount of transmission loss of sound that was occurring when you played a loud music or a loud noise in the restaurant space and heard the noise in the unit above. We actually played it at a sound level of 98 dBA and 103 dBc, so much louder than we would ever be considering in the restaurant, so that we would actually hear it and understand how the sound, the loss of sound transmission. So I'd like to introduce Andy Swerdlow as our expert witness. He's our acoustical consultant. Nick, if you could promote Andy on Zoom, or Michael, so he can explain a little more about what we did in 2022.
And Andy, while we queue you up, do you swear?
Hi, everyone.
Andy.
Can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Andy, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. So Andy, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. So before we get into the details of the 2022 sound study, can you just briefly describe what qualifies you to testify as to the design and acoustic treatment of spaces like this?
Yes, I have over a decade experience in the industry. Formerly, I was a partner at WSDG in Highland, New York, where we specialized in designing music studios and live performance venues. So I have extensive experience limiting and creating sound isolation solutions for dynamic sound sources, whether that is a subwoofer or performers. I've done that at the highest level.
Okay, I think that works. So can you just briefly describe what we did in 2022 in measuring it in the units, and specifically, what was the intended level of music that you were designing to protect against at that time?
Right. So, Nick, you summarized it very well. We brought in a portable PA system, cranked it up as loud as we could get it, measured the sound downstairs, and measured the sound upstairs. The difference is the transmission loss of the base building structure. We use that to calibrate a model in INSOL software, where we put different configurations of a hung sound isolation ceiling below that, and we used a spectrum that we had measured in, actually it was in Poppy Steak in Miami, which has significant bass and is upwards of 95 dBc, which is, it's difficult to talk. You need to lean in. If you have a table of 4, you might be talking to the person next to you, not the person across from you at the table, unless you both are leaning forward. That is, I'd call that a lounge type of sound level. That's what was being imagined during the very early stages of the project. Now, this was back in 2022. So the recommendations for that would have been a sound isolation ceilings with two layers of drywall hung from springs. If they wanted to get louder than that, we could put more layers of drywall on to create more decoupled mass hanging from the structure. And then the walls would be furred out with a similar complement of drywall, using isolation clips to prevent direct mechanical connection of the wallboard layers to the base building structure. Now, what is happening is, informally, we would call it a fine dining sound level, where 75 dBA might even be a little bit loud, but the sound of conversation is usually, planning board describes this as ambient music. So 75 dBA, and that would be measured using the fast or the slow max setting on the SPL meter.
So Andy, I think you're getting a little ahead, but that's fine. So just, sorry, go ahead. So just in terms of the modeling that you discussed here, this graph that's on the screen now, that's the modeling we conducted in 2022, and that essentially shows that at 85 to 90 dBs, what you guys are planning at, that it would be below measured ambient levels in the unit above. Is that essentially what this graph is showing?
Correct. And the red line above shows what you would get with that sound level with no sound isolation ceiling.
Right. So with no ceiling, it would be above ambient.
The orange line represents with a sound isolation ceiling. Same music level upstairs. So what we have here is the 2025 version of this where, oh, and we should start the black line with squares is the ambient sound level measured upstairs in unit 204. That is 35 dBA or NC30, which is what we would use in architectural acoustics. That's the NC30 line right there, where at 1000 hertz is just about to touch it. That measurement was made with no activity downstairs, no activity in the other restaurant space, the Kosushi space. It wasn't open at the time. It's taken during the day. So it was as quiet as you would get in that unit. The loudest thing going on in that unit was the refrigerator running.
So
And that's-
if we're reading this graph correctly, essentially with no sound treatment and 75 dBAs music, we would be close to ambient, but we wouldn't go above it. With our proposed soundproofing, we're well below ambient in the unit above. That's essentially what this graph is showing, correct?
Correct. If we are 10 dB below ambient, there's no chance you're going to perceive the sound.
So thank you, Andy, and that's enough for now. Appreciate it. So in addition to the soundproof ceiling that's above between the 8-inch concrete slab, Gaia also is implementing interior design, so there's going to be a decorated ceiling of drywall below that that is going to, be what you actually see in the restaurant. And these renderings are just to give you an idea of the type of restaurant that Gaia is. It's really not intended to be a poppy steak, that type of atmosphere. It's intended to be more like Catch or like other restaurants that are in South of Fifth. So we do believe that the previous conditions in condition 6 were just an overkill and way too much soundproofing for a level of restaurant, and essentially it's killing this restaurant financially before they've even had a chance to open. And we wanted to point out, as was mentioned earlier, Red did operate in this building. Red did not need a CUP. They were a popular restaurant. They had no soundproofing between the ceiling at all, and we're not aware of any complaints from the building. Certainly, if there were any, some soundproofing would have helped, and we are committed to putting in soundproofing in the ceiling. But given the fact that restaurants have existed in this building, have been successful or for a certain amount of time, and then not really had noise impacts to the units above, we think that's empirical proof, which according to the letter that was submitted by Maria, we have no empirical evidence, and we've done no scientific analysis of our sound analysis. That's just simply not true. So we respectfully request that this application be approved with the modifications and the requested modification to the condition. I don't know if we want to get to that on rebuttal.
I'm going to suggest a modification to your suggested modification. I think you'll accept this,
Okay.
just to cut it off. This is a modification of condition 6A3. Under the underlined portion at the end, you can find this on page 137 of the board packages,
Under entertainment?
under entertainment.
Okay.
Under the underlined section at the end, we modify it to say, in no case shall the sound level within the space exceed a level that would interfere with normal conversation, and take out the decibel level measurement.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we agree to that. And so with that, we respectfully reserve time for rebuttal, and thank you very much.
Okay, anybody in chambers speak on this? Come on up.
Thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. My name is Justin Smith. I'm an attorney who serves as general counsel for Maria Condominium Association. I'm here today to represent the collective best interests of that particular community. This building has residential units, as you are well aware, and those residential unit owners have voiced concerns to the association. They are concerned that if the cut modification is permitted, that they will experience disturbances within those units. And therefore, it's incumbent upon the association to investigate those concerns. again, the board has an obligation to those owners to act in their best interest. So given this proposed cup modification, the board, of course, reviewed the proposal and became concerned regarding the fact that it appeared that everything is contingent upon the 75 decibel maximum level for the music. Taking that concern into consideration, the association retained its own independent consultant, SR Acoustics. Mike Drapik is present here from SR Acoustics, to opine as to whether the association's concerns were valid. That independent report does confirm that the association did raise some valid points and that there are legitimate concerns that the noise will transfer and disturb some of those units. You know, we're having owners reach out about things such as, you know, I'm afraid my grandchildren will come to visit and won't be able to sleep because the restaurant is open or is planned to be open until 2 in the morning. And the noise may exceed the 75 decibels, maybe 75 decibels of music, but perhaps the conversations and other, you know, activities going on within the restaurant would exceed that level. So again, to confirm whether that's a legitimate concern, the association retained SR Acoustics. And one of the key points I wanted to point out to the board from those findings before Mike gets into some of the more scientific findings is that that report does confirm that the cup modification relies on electronic limiters, a solution that addresses only music playback while ignoring the far greater contributions of patron voices, impulsive events, and low-frequency mechanical noise. And every independent study of restaurant environments shows that noise escalates to levels well above the thresholds cited in the CUP modification. So
You're talking about non-music noise.
exactly. The concern here is that what's presented is solely based on the music rather
Right.
than taking into consideration some of the other components that involve a restaurant.
Right.
You
Is
know,
that
for
inside? Is that inside or outside that you're,
I mean, there is both. I mean,
So-
I mean, because they have outside, which obviously is going to have people out there, you know, laughing, eating, drinking as well.
so there's sound absorbing stucco that you can put on top of the concrete. And there's also soundproof stucco that you can put over hung ceilings. And also padded fabric, all kinds of soundproof things. I'm trying to understand. I mean, I obviously understand because if I had a restaurant below me, but there wasn't any issue with Red, correct? And they didn't have any soundproofing?
My understanding is that from time to time, there were complaints from residents about Red, primarily when there were special events or, you know, something that would be louder and out of the normal operations. But I also understand that, especially towards the tail end of Red, it wasn't a very busy restaurant, so they weren't experiencing those sort of issues.
And they didn't have any soundproofing at all, but this one is going to have, they are, Nick, is that correct? They are going to have sound, okay.
And you obviously took that into account, correct?
Yeah, no, so let me.
And the other thing I want you to explain is, since there's never been anybody in this space, is how you
Right.
Yeah.
determine that people talking is going, I mean, do you just use it?
I have it all here. And
Okay.
so in my original report that I sent to you and that I'm being, you know, told that I claimed that there was 6-inch slab, which let's just start there. There was not enough information. They provided details in their CUP amendment in 2025 to your team. And in those details, they did not specify the slab thickness. So me as an independent consultant, I can only look at the data that was provided to me at the time when they requested me, which was very recently. And when I looked at the data, it was not sufficient for me to say that they had adequately dealt with the space. And you'll see that throughout my report. Also on vertical flanking, which deals with steel columns. So even with concrete, we have to worry about how sound flanks not only there through windows and other places. And so that's where I'll start. Yeah, I'm Mike Drapik. I'm with SR Acoustics. We have operated for 40 years out of Omaha, Chicago, and Tampa. I mean, we've worked on projects, many hotels for Kimpton, IHG, Marriott. We've worked on medical facilities, public safety facilities, just and many other things. Mississippi Civil Rights Museum is one. So we have extensive experience in the realm of sound isolation and architectural acoustics. And And again, thank you for being here and everything that you do. So I was asked to provide an independent review of Gaia's restaurant request to modify the conditions of their conditional use permit. And I want to be clear at the outset that I was not the original acoustic consultant on this project. I had no involvement in its original design. My role is limited to review what has been submitted, compare it with the safeguards this board required, and offer my professional judgment on whether the proposed changes provide the same level of protection. Before I go on, I'm a loud guy. I go to fine dining establishments all the time. My dog bark is at 115 dBA. So it just gives you, when I'm hollering at the bar, which I do in fine dining establishments quite often, you know, obviously I'm going to be quite loud and noisy. So these are things that we want to take into account, especially in a mixed use with residential development, but I'm going to move on. The first and most important point in this is the applicant has not provided the basic information, when I had seen it, that would allow me to even really determine with some reasonability, with confidence, that this design will work. The actual thickness of the floor slab was not disclosed. It was this morning, and I also saw their study this morning, just a minimalistic detail that didn't address the columns and treatments. No sound isolation tests, which we now saw from their 2022 application, were supplied. And without that data, I could not certify equivalency. The absence of proof should be your concern, or should be a concern, at least at that point. So when this board approved the permit in 23, it did so with those specific safeguards. A spring isolated ceiling with 2 layers of drywall, possibly more, additional protection for walls and columns, strict controls on penetrations, and a requirement that music be kept at conversational background levels. These safeguards were not decorative. They were the foundation for your finding that the project was consistent with the code, particularly 118-192, which requires conditional use, protects public health, welfare, and neighborhood values. The request before you would replace that system with a lighter ceiling, which could be in the field, you know, transmission loss reduction. A reduction in transmission loss of around 5 to 10 dB possibly. So this is definitely a change that will reduce the sound isolation that you had originally required in the space. On paper, it sounds precise. In practice, it does not address the real sources of the disturbance sometimes. A limiter can reduce the sound system, but it cannot control people's voices. It cannot control a cheer from a crowd, a scraping of chairs, or the crash of dishes. Research shows that once background noise rises, people instinctively raise their voices to be heard. That effect is known as the Lombard effect, and it means restaurants often easily reach 80 to 85 dBA with peaks closer to 90. Restaurant noise is not a single source, it's a mix of overlapping elements: background music, conversation, bursts of laughter, cheering, clattering dishes, pots and pans, scraping chairs, compressors, ventilation, deliveries, and late night cleanup. The hours proposed on this are 2 a.m. For a note, each sound is different. Some continuous, some impulsive, some low frequency. Together they create constantly shifting and intrusive sound environment. In reflective spaces, glass, drywall, tile, sound does not dissipate. It reflects, it layers upon itself, and this buildup makes voices and music harder to control. And the overall sound field becomes more intense. Now, why this matters is, taken together, noise escalation and sound buildup means restaurant noise is not like ordinary household noise. It's continuous. It overlaps, it peaks suddenly, and in mixed-use settings, it persists for hours directly beneath residences. This is why stricter safeguards are required. The original CUP conditions recognize this reality. Weakening them without proof of equivalent performance ignores the nature of restaurant noise and risks exactly the kind of disturbance the CUP was meant to prevent. This is not about choosing one consultant's opinions over another. This is the integrity of the conditions you established in 2023. And those conditions allowed you to conclude the project was compatible with the community. If they are weakened without proof of equivalency, the legal and factual foundation of that approval is undermined. In my professional opinion, unless and until the applicant provides verifiable data showing that the slider system performs as well as the spring isolated ceiling you required against all the possible noise intrusions, not just the sound system, the responsible course is to keep the original safeguards. They were not optional. They were essential to protecting the health, the welfare, and the values of this neighborhood. Now, and again, I'm simply speaking on what had been provided to me at the time and what I can speak to. An 8-inch slab is an improvement. Will sound flank over. I mean, like he said, it had before, they have a 2 ceiling, so you have some separation. And I think that, I think that if we could see more details or we had more, understanding of exactly how everything was going to be, it would be easier for me to make some determination to help them understand what they're going to be experiencing. So.
Thank you.
All right, let's open it for public. Anybody here to speak on this item? I assume you live in the building.
Good guess.
Just introduce yourselves and your address and then
Well,
speak.
thank you. Peter and June Felix, we live in the building, apartment 406, directly above Gaia. First and foremost, let's make it clear, we're very happy that this building, this space is now being built out. It's been a complete eyesore, dreadful situation, frankly, almost unhealthy. But that's the history. But it does raise in our minds, who's going to take this over and make it reasonable in terms of our living in the building? We've heard about the plans. There are things that make us fearful. One is that this restaurant is going to be open until 2 a.m. in the morning. I don't understand how that's possible in a residential area. So I would raise that as an objection personally, but that's a different issue to the sound. We're fearful because we know, we live in Miami Beach, we live in South Miami. We know that it can get very noisy in restaurants. We also know that if a restaurant is very successful, it attracts a whole contingent of people with their fancy cars. Let's be realistic. This is a high-end restaurant, very expensive, based on successful restaurants in Dubai and London. And it's intended that this will be top of the line and eye-wateringly expensive. Now, just imagine if the VIPs, who apparently are intended to be in this lounge, the VIP lounge, are still there at 2 in the morning. Are these people going to be worried about the noise that they're making when their Ferrari comes along and picks them up? I mean, we're talking about really an absurd situation for a residential community. And that is our fear. Now, we very much like the idea that a quality restaurant would be there, but we are very concerned that this could be the thin end of the wedge, weakening already the sound constraints. That's why we would object to it. And I just don't buy, I'm sorry, I know nothing about the finances of the Dubai and London restaurants, but we understand they're amazingly successful. This restaurant is financed by money coming out of Dubai, and I just don't buy this argument that this restaurant cannot afford to put in the enhanced soundproofing, which is already demanded by the CUP.
So if we're hearing you right, no Ferraris.
Well, we're not fixing the Ferraris. We're just, unfortunately.
Throwing that in, I'm sorry.
He's throwing that in because that is a pet peeve. However, let me just put yourself in this condition. You bought an apartment in a beautiful area. We love all the restaurants there. That's one of the reasons we're there. That being said, the original proposal was essentially like a sound system, like a sound booth, right? You could sleep, you could go down to the restaurant. Now what they're saying is, oh, the sound system will be at 75 decibels. How many of you have been in Catch or in Joe and screaming at each other across the table? Because to the expert's explanation, the ambient noise is beyond the music. So all they're doing is saying, okay, the sound system will be at this level. Controlling conversations, all of that is very, very difficult to do. Our conditional proposal was based on a protection of that not actually impacting the residents. Now that's being taken away. They're saying, oh, let's just take that back. This also does not prevent, but I don't know all the code, people having special events. Let's bring in some special equipment so that for that special whatever celebrity event, we're going to add more woofers, more sound to make it, Basel event, a Formula One event. So there is deep concern. I've talked to all of our neighbors in our line. They're deeply concerned. They may be on the Zoom, I'm not sure, but it's a problem. We love Call Me Gabby, we go to Joe's, we go to all of these restaurants. But it's different than being in our building. I know you raised Red. Red failed, by the way. So the fact that it had no soundproofing is not a great example because there were hardly ever any people in there. I think maybe there was a week when it was actually successful. So that's not an apples to apples comparison.
Right.
We want it to be successful, but why are they walking back from what they originally agreed? The other thing is, they said they've ceased construction. They have not ceased. 8 a.m. in the morning, we are still woken up by all sorts of equipment. So if they're not even withholding or complying with what they agreed to do, just in terms of neighborly friendliness, how can we feel comfortable that they're going to continue to comply with what they're saying is going to be a modification on a sound system, which can easily be changed?
I have a question. If they changed the hours and ended at midnight and added extra soundproofing, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you could hear me. If they changed their hours to midnight to close and added the extra soundproofing, would that help alleviate your concerns?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's something, I don't know
No,
if the hours changing would be something they'd be amenable to, but I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
I would have an issue.
Absolutely. The original proposal sounded very credible, right? You're like in a sound booth. You're in the restaurant. It's not really affecting the rest of the neighborhood. That's fine. We're happy with that. Why they need to change that? As Peter said, these are well-financed people with very successful restaurants,
Right.
other places. I find that really questionable as to it is jeopardizing this project.
I have extreme problems with this. I have a problem that this is the first time a restaurant came in front of the planning board or the commission that I know of, particularly Mr. Larkin, who is an excellent representation of his clients, without having this go in front of SOFNA, because I'm sure the neighborhood association, when they heard you speak, would be dead set against this.
Yeah.
Okay? That's an absolute. So the fact that it wasn't presented to the neighborhood would be a reason not only to reject it, but if somebody was still wanting to vote for it, at a minimum, it should be delayed until they present it to the neighborhood association and we hear from you. Number two, I've never heard of someone agreeing to certain soundproofing and then coming back later and saying, we're going to stop because it's too expensive. If we're wrong and we allow this, and they hear the noise, what are they, reduced to now living with that noise and code because we just changed what they already agreed to? I don't understand it. I'm not here to talk about the financial of Gaia, but if you're going to have fine dining, if you agreed to it initially, if you presented it initially to the neighborhood association, now you're coming back, not presenting it, not having open disclosure, and you're asking to significantly change the sound because you think the decibel level will be different, I don't understand the justification for even being here.
I just want to make one clarification,
Yeah.
Keith. The board cannot require an applicant to appear before a neighborhood association.
Absolutely.
And so maybe the practice.
I am stating why we don't have a resolution in support or against. They bypassed it. That I want that on the record, and I want it on the record that they are asking for economic relief from an association above them that has grave concerns. And I hope that my board members put themselves in the residents' shoes when they make a decision on this.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that there's no way we're going to approve a project if it's going to be disruptive to your quality of life. So it's just a matter of working out the requirements that soundproofing that they engage in. So there's no way, I just want you to know that.
I would say
So-
hours as well. This is a residential neighborhood, and other residential neighborhoods have
12
hours.
is,
I mean, I don't know. I'm
Excuse
just,
me, Mr. Chairman, do you want to continue with the public comment first?
Yeah,
Mr.
I do. Is there anyone else in chambers? Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Is there
you
anyone
very
else in chambers to speak on this? All right, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we have some callers on Zoom. The
Okay.
first is Stephen Tishman.
I, Stephen, do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Stephen Tishman. I'm an owner at 801 South Point Drive, apartment 206. I am actually the apartment which is directly above the restaurant. And I want to state publicly that I am opposed to the sound modification as currently proposed and consistent with our homeowners association's position. While like the Felixes, I'm very supportive of the restaurant and frankly, very supportive of the restaurant. I just want to make sure that on behalf of the tenants, that they stick to their lawyer's comments, which is that, quote, the tenants will not hear the restaurant at all. I don't understand how the restaurant's owners who had previously agreed to a certain noise protection level that was permanent and designed to protect the tenants now want to reduce the permanency by installing an electric noise limiter to their music systems and reducing the permanent noise protection level. What I don't get is, with all due respect, is this was a fine dining establishment before. It's a fine dining establishment now. The quality of the restaurant hasn't changed. So if it was fine before, I don't understand why it's not fine now, other than for economic reasons. What they want to do is not a permanent solution, nor is it a permanent protection. How are the tenants supposedly going to protect themselves against the, quote, I'm sorry, the electric noise limiter didn't work that night, or I'm sorry, we had a special event and they brought in their own speakers and microphones. I asked the panel to please note, as our noise consultant said, that the noise limiter does not protect against ancillary noises such as kitchen, patrons, additional cars, etc., only the music, assuming it works. And just as an example, I've rented U-Hauls that had speed limiters, and they can be undone and you can still speed. Furthermore, you should be aware that with my experience with the owner's construction people has not been pleasant. Twice, I and the Maria staff, after midnight, have had to attempt to stop the drilling and construction, which woke up my young grandchildren. As I said, after midnight, the workers' response was, well, the landlord said that it was okay. And there are numerous construction drilling as early as 6:30 to 7 a.m. And we spoke to these people many times with no benefit at all. I understand that this is an economic decision, or they'd not be asking for modification. We would assume that the restaurant would not be a good neighbor, would want to be a good neighbor and do what is necessary to reduce the noise as much as possible. We cannot protect ourselves, as you said, to this variability on behalf of the restaurant without your support to keep the noise protection levels at the levels of the existing proposal. Frankly, I don't understand why we're here or this is an issue. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Next.
Next caller is Shane.
Hi, Shane. Can you state your full name for the record, and then I'll swear you in?
Shane French, I am in 801 South Point, Unit 504.
Thank you. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
By the way, they've eliminated that in court. Now you just have to say the truth. You don't say the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Just
All right.
letting you know.
Well, just the truth then. You have, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I'll give you some truth and some opinion of mine. I concur wholeheartedly with the other residents who I honestly have not had the pleasure to discuss this matter with. I'm only on this call. I'm actually traveling, and I've been on the call for about an hour and a half now waiting to speak up. But I personally am right above this restaurant. I'm up on the 5th floor, so I may not get it as bad as the residents on the 2nd floor. But with the hours of the restaurant going to 2 a.m., it is a serious concern for all of the property owners. And I would just say if the restaurant is claiming that they're stopping construction because of their sound mitigation costs, good luck doing business in Miami Beach if you're that strapped. I mean, it's just a ridiculous argument, frankly, to something that they've already agreed upon. I do wish them luck. When it comes to the sound at Red, as previous residents have already testified, there, you'd go in there, and I loved Red, but there was me and maybe 3 other people in there. This, I think, is going to be a different animal, much more crowded, a lot more activity, and it is very concerning. And I wish them luck. I am happy that the unit has been occupied, but I'm just not buying the argument that this is oh, well, we're stopping construction because we can't afford sound mitigation. They're going to have some much bigger issues in the long run if that is indeed the case. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Safe travels. Next.
Next caller is Britt.
Hi, Britt. Can you state your full name for the record?
Good afternoon. My name is Brittany Gatto, and I also live at 801 South Point Drive.
Thank you. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give in this proceeding is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
So first of all, thank you to the board for allowing myself and all of our neighbors to share our opinions on this matter. We really appreciate the opportunity to be heard here today. I live at 801 South Point Drive, and the reason we purchased a home in the South of 5th neighborhood is because it has historically been known to be the quiet residential area of the beach. Of course, we want businesses to succeed in our neighborhood just as much as the board wants businesses to succeed across the city. However, I would say that over the past few years, it has gotten significantly louder in the South of 5th neighborhood, most notably the sports cars that are drag racing up and down South Point Drive at all hours of the day and night. We feel that the addition of this noise pollution from this restaurant directly below our home would be a major disturbance to the residents of the building and overall community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And that concludes our online callers.
Okay. We'll close the public hearing. Do you want to respond to?
Yes, just briefly. So, unfortunately, there seems to be a really large fundamental understanding about what this proposal is. It seems to have been communicated to these residents that we're proposing just to use a limiter. There was always a limiter involved. We were proposing to lower the limiter and continue to create a box. It's just the thickness of the box is getting a little bit thinner because of the level that it was previously designed to was essentially to the level of a nightclub. If every restaurant is forced to soundproof their restaurant to the level of a nightclub, essentially you're signing them up for unparalleled cost of construction. And it appears to also have been communicated to the residents and the association that, the cost is just not a big deal. It is a very significant cost, just because they're well-funded and people can point to where their funding comes from. Doesn't mean that it's not impacting their ability to do business and be successful. Again, the biggest thing here is that there's a fundamental misunderstanding from the neighborhood from the building about what we're proposing here. You can see the conditions that are in the draft order. It's a layer of drywall on top of additional, Andy, I think, can explain it better. And can I call Andy back in to explain exactly what we're doing and respond to Mr. Drapak's concerns?
Nick, I'm missing some of the fundamentals that the residents are. This was approved.
Right.
What changed?
What changed?
With the restaurant. Were they going to do a nightclub? Were they going to have DJs? Of course not. Was it going to be a schlock house or a fine dining restaurant? What people are saying is there's a economic reason that's causing you to change what you agreed to. Why did you agree to it in the first place? You're speaking for the Gaia, I assume, so.
Yeah, so the conditions were directly lifted from the sound consultant's report. In hindsight, the sound consultant overestimated what the sound was believed to be in the restaurant. It was just assuming a worst-case scenario that did not exist.
Okay, so you assumed the worst case, the people up above and the neighborhood associations all backed you, and now you're coming in and saying, well, we can do less. What if you're wrong and you built all this and now you're getting nothing but noise complaints? What's your solution? What's your plan B if you do this for economic reasons and they start hearing noise?
The conditions of the CUP address that. There's going to be commissioning, so we're going to ensure before the restaurant opens, before they're able to receive a certificate of use, that they're going to do commissioning, stand in the units above, and ensure that they don't hear
You're
anything.
going to have 200 people in the restaurant talking?
The concern raised from crowd noise, I would like Andy to be able to respond to that, because that is honestly the idea that crowd noise is going to go through an 8-inch slab through soundproofing that's intended to stop music. It's just not true. And the city's independent third-party peer reviewer agrees with our conclusions. The expert from the association admitted he didn't review any of the data. He didn't review any of the report, and he essentially just came up here and said it. Now he's saying it's not true, but he did not. He said he was not provided the information. He didn't ask for it. So
Nick, what about doing the soundproof stucco over the walls or doing the backing over the ceiling baffling and things like that?
That's exactly what we're doing.
Are you doing the walls as well?
Yeah, Andy, could we promote Andy to explain exactly what the 6 conditions that we're
Yes,
proposing
Andy,
are?
you're there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we are making provisions to the project to isolate sound that, we did not go into that level of detail in the letter provided to Planning Board for the CUP update. Nor were we asked by SR Acoustics to provide any of this information. And on the second page of Mike's report, he says, I haven't reviewed any of this, just the letters, and these are all general recommendations. So in our experience, the complaints from residents adjacent to restaurants come from music. In all my years, I have not heard of complaints coming from kitchen sound
Andy,
or
if we could just
people inside the restaurant.
If we could just go one by one through
Sure.
the conditions that we're proposing, because it's really the fundamental misunderstanding is what I just want to clear up. It's not just a limiter that what we're proposing. We're proposing
Right.
a soundproofed box of a restaurant. It's just
I
a
think
different level.
also is Nick, and is, after 12 o'clock and you're in a residential area, even though you're a high-end restaurant, you're going to have your, noise from the outside and the cars and your Ferraris and all those things. And, are you willing to change your hours? Because I think that's probably, if you're in a residential area and you've got cars racing and all that, I know, some of the restaurants that are down there now have that going on. And I'm just concerned, there's got to be something that we can come to that's fair for everyone.
Yeah, if I'd like to let Andy just go through so we can clear up, but we're not here on a request to change the hours. The association supported the hours on the original CUP, and the hours,
but that was
all
with-
restaurants south of Fifth are subject to the same hours. They all close at 2.
But that was with different soundproofing though, correct?
But the soundproofing is irrelevant to what happens out on the street.
Correct. That is, but it's still after the hours, which is,
The exterior will close at 12 a.m., so the exterior closes at midnight. The
I think it's
interior map
11
runs
actually per the CUP. The exterior closes at 11, I believe. Or is it midnight?
I read midnight.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
It happens sometimes.
Sorry.
So the sound isolation provided by the design that we have reduces 75 decibels at 1,000 hertz, about 70 decibels at 500 hertz. That's what we're talking about with crowd noise. And that's going to be well below the level of interior ambient noise in the residences upstairs. As a professional, I am not too concerned about this. When it comes to commissioning, I'm happy to test that, and we will.
So just to reiterate, the city's independent third-party peer reviewer came up with the conditions. Staff is recommending approval, and our sound consultant, who actually did the studies, confirms that the units above won't hear the sound. And essentially what we're hearing is misinformation about just relying on a limiter to reduce the sound, creating a lot of concern. I completely understand that. If that was what we were proposing, that should be rejected, but that's not what we're proposing. So I just want to be clear as to what's before the board today. Unfortunately, you know, this information has been presented to the association in a way that's not entirely accurate. So.
Yeah, just a couple minutes.
Mr. Chairman, just bear in mind, the public hearing is closed, so, and we've already had the rebuttal, so if we reopen to the public, we'll need to give the applicant an opportunity to do any final rebuttal.
That's fine.
I mean, it's just because they're saying I'm saying things, he's making claims that I made an assertion that I did not. I said without the information, I couldn't assert, and the issue here is that I could not look at any of the data because they did not supply it. We had a private meeting. We asked them for the data. They canceled the meeting, ended it immediately, and would not give us the data we requested. We have done our due diligence to try to work this out before this hearing, but unfortunately, they wouldn't provide any of this.
Right.
And so.
Are you able to provide what he's requesting to him?
Absolutely. We never declined them. They requested the information 2 days before the hearing after they had already sent their letter of objection. So at that point, they created an adversarial situation, and we were not, you know.
All right, well,
Can I make a suggestion?
The letter was sent after the meeting.
Please.
Excuse me.
It sounds like maybe there's miscommunication between you guys. But
Some emotion
I don't
here.
know, I don't know if this would pass with the city's recommendation today. And, okay, you say it's going to cost a lot for the soundproofing approved. I see the type, you know, the kind of ornate ceiling that's going in there. Okay, I can understand that. Maybe there's something else that can be worked out, other kind of soundproofing materials or some kind of design that would satisfy both the association and the owners and your client. Maybe you get together with him, because apparently you guys are not on the same page, and try to come up with a solution that both sides are happy with. Okay,
Because
we're
Nick,
not opposed.
honestly, when it's within a condominium building south of Fifth, and the amount of taxes these people are paying and their need to have a peaceful and quiet enjoyment,
Yes.
it's important.
We understand if that's the will of the board, and we would like to hear if there's any more feedback from the board. Really, just we did try to get them to give us some additional recommendations other than just do the original thing that we had agreed to, but we had, you know, voluntarily proffered that into the CUP, and we received nothing. What we received was the letter.
I would proffer that we suspend this, that you talk and try to work something out, at least within the next scheduled planning board meeting, and that even though we don't require it, it would be a good idea if you get SOFNA involved, because this is a neighborhood issue, and it's when it affects one building, it affects them all. I mean, we went through and we had no problems with Catch, you name the restaurant, and we worked this out. This is the very first time that I've been here since, well, I've been on SOFNA since too long. But it's the first time in this neighborhood I've seen residents 100% against and being proposed and not worked out. I think they're your tenant. They're your clients, so they're the people that are going to recommend this restaurant. And you don't want the people above to be upset. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
bad business.
We agree, it's in our mutual interest to keep the sound down. That's what we're
So
supposed to do.
take 30 more days and figure it out.
We would respectfully request a continuance to
Yeah,
continue
and
trying
so
to work with
just
them.
if the association hired you, obviously I want you to work with them. Don't be unreasonable.
Yeah.
Be fair, but protect the residents. So I think we're all inclined to move this for a month. Is that enough time?
Is that enough? 30
And you'll
days?
commit to providing them with the information they need?
Sure.
All right. All right, so someone want to move to?
And everybody will be happy and everybody will
Yeah, we want
be
everyone to be
successful.
happy.
We want
We want you to
everyone happy, and
succeed.
we
We want
want
them to
Gaia to
sleep.
succeed.
Yeah.
So I'll move to delay this with the intent that they're going to talk to the condo association and with a recommendation that they also get the neighborhood association to help mediate this issue.
All right, so make the motion. You made it?
Yes,
Okay,
that's the
Scott
motion.
seconded. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all your
Thank you very much.
I
participation.
know y'all will work everything out.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to let you all grab your lunches, which are here, and then if you don't mind bringing them back to the table, we'll just continue. So take a 5-minute break.
stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Egypt and Morocco are on my to-do list.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are
You're gonna have to tell me.
moving on to new comprehensive plan and code amendments. The first one is Planning Board File 250766, 1600, I guess they're companion, Washington Avenue, and Planning Board File 250765, 1600 Washington Avenue.
Correct, these are companion items, so we'll take them together. And because this also does entail an increase in FAR, this requires the applicant to go through the 6-step review process. This includes step 1, which is today's meeting. This is the first step in the process. The board will review these items and continue till the November meeting. In the meantime, step 2 will take place, which is a community workshop meeting. After that, the planning board will hear this back in November with a recommendation to the city commission. After that, the city commission will review this the first time. There'll be another community workshop meeting before the final adoption hearing before the city commission. Now, the board may remember that this parcel is subject to the Washington Avenue amendments that were reviewed by the planning board last year. Ultimately, those amendments got held up in the city commission, and those are currently pending before the city commission. I believe they will continue till December 17th of this year. In the meantime, because the applicant was concerned about the status of those amendments, they filed their own private application for the specific site. So in case the amendments that are currently going through the process did not get adopted, the applicant has more control over their own private application. This is essentially very similar to what was approved for the Washington Avenue area plan. It includes the same increase in FAR, the same up to 3.25, the same height increase up to 150 feet. They have included massing studies or application that was continued today. Takes advantage of the code amendments that are currently pending before the city commission. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. This is the first step in the process. We're supportive of this application. It's very consistent, if not almost exactly the same as the amendments that are currently in process for the city commission. We are recommending that the board review this and continue the application to the November meeting to allow the applicant to present for a community workshop. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kasdan for his presentation.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Neeson Kasdan and Cecilia Torres Toledo of Ackerman, representing the applicant, which is the property owned by Ambassador Paul Sejas, the 400 block of Lincoln Road, from Lincoln Road to 16th Street, from Washington Avenue to Drexel. Also with us here today is Maria Stead, the general manager for Mr. Sejas's properties. If we can tee up the presentation. Okay. We are requesting your review and favorable recommendation of our Urban Core Comprehensive Plan and LDR amendments. If approved, these incentives will enable a 210 market rate residential rental project designed by the world-renowned architect Enrique Norton at 1600 Washington Avenue. This would be the first significant residential rental product in the city in decades. We will be presenting the project for CUP approval in October. The city, of course, has recognized the need to incentivize residential development. A couple of those items have come before your board as well. One, and passed by your board. For Washington Avenue, that was the Commissioner Suarez's initiative, and also for Lincoln Road, Commissioner Fernandez and other commissioners, all based upon the realization that there needs to be market rate, attainable rental housing in this area in order to serve the people who work here and the businesses that are here as well. It will also help stabilize the community by making it a less transient community and more of a residential community, which will be good for safety as well as businesses. What we have done is file this specific application because both the Washington Avenue and Lincoln Road initiatives, and by the way, this is consistent with the Washington Avenue initiative, were deferred by the City Commission till at least December. we're ready to go forward with this specific program. And there's a unique aspect to it because this is truly Miami Beach's urban core. When I was a child, we used to call this downtown. The intersection, the corner. I don't think Mr. Elias, you're old enough to remember that.
I would say when you were a child 80 years ago.
That was Miami Beach's downtown. It was where the businesses were, the offices were, the lawyers, also the retail street, Lincoln Road, all the centers of activity, and the hotel. That is Miami Beach's urban core. And if you look here, you can see some of the historical pictures of that urban core going back to my childhood when there were banks and professional offices, and there was a retail center and the convention center. It was a very busy area. It is also, and remains today, the economic hub of the city of Miami Beach. There are 200 plus businesses along Lincoln Road. The most important office buildings, 420 Lincoln Road, 407 Lincoln Road, 1601 Washington Avenue. It remains the business center, business core of Miami Beach, but it's also the cultural and civic hub for the community, with the New World Symphony's New World Center, with the Gleason Theater, and with the Miami Beach Convention Center. So it remains the cultural hub, the civic hub, as well as the business hub of the city of Miami Beach. And also, and this is very important for residential use, it is the mobility hub. Washington Avenue is one of the best transit serviced streets in Miami Beach, and Washington Avenue is served by both the Miami Beach Trolley and various Metrobus routes. We're showing you some more images of the activity in the urban core. One thing that's important as well, though, to look at, and in respect to the amendments that are being requested, which are modest in scale, we are seeking to increase the FAR from 2.75 to 3.25, and the height, allowable height, from 100 to 150 feet, is the existing context of the neighborhood. So you have, as I mentioned before, 1601, these are the properties that Ambassador Seijas owns, containing the entirety of the block. The urban core legislation now contemplates, as I say, we're proposing a slight increase in height. Ambassador Seijas has owned that block since the 1990s, and he has put millions of dollars in restoring the historic architecture there, as well as bringing in great tenants, including the flagship Zara store. The urban core legislation, these properties already have in the existing CD3 zoning the highest density that is allowable, which is 150 units an acre. However, because of the height limitations, the FAR, they are not able to achieve that density. That density is important in order to be able to achieve the city's goals. So therefore, we're asking for, as I mentioned, the modest increase in FAR and in height to accommodate residential development consistent with the density that is allowed in this area. This urban core legislation furthers the policy 1.110 of the city's comprehensive plan by providing adequate FAR and height to better realize that contemplated density. I would also like to point out how the urban core legislation is very contextually appropriate. What you're looking at there in the image on the screen are buildings that will be significantly actually exist or will shortly exist that are significantly higher than what is proposed. That is the Convention Hotel, which is under construction at 185 feet, 407 Lincoln Road, which is approximately 180 feet, 1601 Washington Avenue at 124 feet. So you can already see that this scale is a scale that is appropriate and already existing in that neighborhood. Finally, You can see the changes that we are proposing. The density remains the same at 150 units an acre. This will facilitate the construction of 210 residential units on the corner of 16th and Washington Avenue, which is actually under 150 units an acre. The intensity, that is the FAR, would go from 2.75 to 3.25, and the height would go from 100 to 150 feet. Also, it is important to note that the parking for what is proposed will be able to be accommodated in the existing garage that has been built on Ambassador Sejas's property. So with that, we ask for your support for both the land use plan amendment as well as the LDR amendment. I think this is exactly what everyone in the city has been looking for this neighborhood and for the stability of our community, and we remain available to answer any questions.
Okay, and staff, if I understand correctly, we have to defer this to November, right?
No, it's a matter, it's review it and continue it till November.
Right, okay.
Because there's, on
Yeah,
this process
There's
now,
gotta
there will be a public
community outreach.
meeting.
Got it.
So this
Okay.
is your first
Yeah.
swing at
Is
it.
there anybody else in here to speak on this? Lyle?
Hi, everybody. Lyle Stern, 690 Lincoln Road, wearing my Lincoln Road President bid hat on
Is
this
that why you have the
application.
jacket on now?
I do, right? Much more formal. And I have a shirt with a collar. So we reviewed this at the bid. We endorsed it. We support it as both a bid member, Lincoln Road property owner, a resident of the city. I think that this is exactly what we want to see more of, especially in our central district. It goes to new architecture, cleaning up the street, creating a live-work environment, creating more pedestrian activity from local residents. Right now, we have residential nodes, whether it's the Islands or West Avenue or what have you. This node is a very transient node, and this will create the further connectivity to the road and the nodes around it, and also give a new building structure on that portion of Lincoln Road. So we endorse it for all those reasons. We like the residential intensification of the area around Lincoln Road, and urge your support, and everything else that Neeson said. So thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Anyone on Zoom?
There's nobody online with their hand raised?
Okay, yes, Jill?
Couple of things. Number one, my biggest issue with this plan is that it's not up and down Lincoln Road. So I think this is really, what Lincoln Road needs in order to save the retail, obviously decrease vacancy, and it's just a great plan. My question, on a serious note, is there anything that ties this project to being an apartment building versus a for-sale product?
What there is there will be, and the legislation requires a covenant that there can be no short-term rentals.
That was what I was going to ask.
Well, that's,
now
sure, but that's, I
that's
think, standard, so I think what I'm asking for specifically is for sale versus.
You mean apartment versus condo?
Apartment, correct.
There is not, but, and if you look at, the CUP will be coming before you on this project. You'll see the way the units are designed, the sizing of the units and such. This is not designed to be a for-sale product. But there's no covenant or that it would not be for sale. But if you look at as I say, the sizing of the units and such, you'll see this is definitely a rental product.
So the intention from Ambassador Sejas is to have this as a rental? Yes. Got it. Okay, and I guess this is now a question for city staff. We've discussed this before. Why is there no way to, tie property approval to, for rent versus for sale?
Well, as a general rule, zoning relates to use and not ownership, right? So, if what our code regulates is whether a use is residential or commercial or industrial or mixed use, you're in a slightly different position here because this is proposed as an incentive for development, but I don't think the city could condition its approval on whether the property is used for rentals or whether it's used for condominiums. There are various preemptions, in fact, at the state level that relate to condo and co-op property that prohibit us from adopting regulations on the basis of how the property is owned.
And I'm not saying that the applicant would be interested in this at all, but if the city were to offer, let's say, an additional incentive to include workforce housing or something along those lines, is that something that could tie ownership to a specific rental use versus for sale use?
I think so, yes. If the city were going to offer that as an incentive, yeah.
Mr. Smith, may I comment on that? Because this is obviously a comment, a thought, something of great discussion. I think one thing that the city, and this moves in that direction, I think what was proposed for Washington moves in that direction. When you look at regulations regarding the sizing of units, so that they could be smaller units potentially, but not micro units, but smaller units. You look at, parking regulations. You're setting the business environment for rental product to be built, as opposed to oceanfront luxury condominiums. And so I think without dictating the market, whether it be condo or rental, I think you can create a series of regulations that would favor rental construction.
So I think that's true by and large, but in Miami Beach, people can sell anything to anyone. So as much as we might try and, dictate policy or I'd say, zoning uses and minimum unit size, maximum unit size, all of that, people will buy anything in Miami Beach, or at least that's the hope. So I'm just trying to think of what else we could do up here, even if it's not relevant to this project specifically, to try and tie ownership to for rent versus for sale.
But are you saying you prefer a for sale project?
I'm saying I prefer for rent.
Right.
And I think that's really the missing middle piece to
Yeah,
get
listen,
kind of
it's
that
so
density back into.
I agree.
Living on
It's
Miami
cheaper
Beach.
to rent today than to own. It's crazy.
No, not only that, people are moving outside of Miami Beach to
Yep,
live and trying to
correct.
figure out how to get them to stay here.
Correct. All right, any other?
Take advantage of that.
Scott?
Yeah, when we were talking about the Washington Avenue incentives, I mean, I said that, we were contemplating like all up and down Washington FAR increases and height increases, and I was saying that, maybe that's not a good idea for Washington. Maybe certain areas should have higher FAR than others. And I mentioned specifically the city center area, and I said that would be the area, one area for an FAR increase. So on that aspect, I like it. I think it's, if we're going to do anything on Washington Avenue, this is the one area that needs it, that could benefit from it. But also with the overlay, or the Washington Avenue incentives, we also talked a little about how that can kind of still try to fit in somewhat with the context of the built-up context of the neighborhood. We talked a little bit about setbacks and things like that. So when I see this project, which is basically a large building, there's, no setbacks, there's, I'm not an architect, but it doesn't seem to be that sort of, how should we call it, it doesn't have a lot of different lines on the building, let's say. It just looks like you're doing whatever you can to maximize the available square footage. So I'm a little torn that way because, I even though this is a great area for an FAR increase, if I wouldn't want to see one of these after another all up and down the street. So, I'm in favor of this moving forward, but I think, maybe the commission ought to look at that, because if this is what they're saying, it's going to be all up and down Washington Avenue, I think then there's, I wouldn't be in favor of that. So it's something we should, well, I don't know if that's coming back to us. I don't think it is, the Washington Avenue incentives. It's something that the commission should, I guess, consider moving forward. I just wanted to get that out there. The other thing is that, this, because this is not part of zoning, this is a private application. What we've seen recently with private FAR increase applications, a public benefit element. I don't know if you want to consider that, but because this is a private application, maybe that would be something to sort of move it forward
All the
quicker. 'Cause I did notice one thing in your proposed ordinance, you're also asking to waive all the mobility fees. So I don't know, maybe something,
If I may, Mr. a couple of things. And first of all, I did fail to mention as well, as you know, that the Washington Avenue Business Improvement District has endorsed this item. And I think you're correct in saying, if there's one place that is the model place to have this, it is this place because it's the urban core. And so I think there's consensus on that. In terms of, I would also say that, by the way, as you know, there's the existing parking garage there. And that actually serves as, will remain, and that's much lower. It's 5 stories, so that's a sort of a buffer to the west. With respect to public benefit, this project, A, this project is the public benefit, and B, the other 2 FAR increases that were passed, this is less than a 20% increase in FAR, a 50% increase in height. The other 2 were either double or in one case almost triple the FAR. Big difference. So
just said that.
what we're doing is, frankly, Ambassador Sejas has been restrained and modest in his approach. He is just trying to get as much FAR as he needs to make a viable project.
I bring that up, the public benefit, because I did see in the ordinance, asking to waive the mobility fee, and then that made me think, well, I mean, you're getting the FAR increase and asking for more, maybe, giving something back.
I mean, he could have come in and asked for, doubling the FAR, but he just wants to be able to have enough to do a viable project. And as a result, this increases the chances of this really happening.
Which you would have.
Any other questions or comments?
I think it's something that we've needed for a long time, and I'm happy to see it.
All right, Michael, do we need to move it one at a time? I mean, we're just moving it to November,
We can do it
right?
together.
Huh?
We can do it together, continue both items to the
All right, so one
November 4th
Motion to
meeting.
continue PB 250766 and 250765 to next month's meeting.
I'll
Or
second
it's-
that.
Is it next month?
No, November.
November 4th.
November
Get a
meeting.
second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Couple
And by the way,
things.
it's a pleasure to see you all. Hope
Thank you,
you-
Mayor.
It's been a
Thank you,
while. Hope
guys.
you had a good summer, everybody.
Thank you, Nisa.
Couple things, guys. I want everyone to know the next meeting's on a Thursday, just so you remember. And we want to say goodbye to Michael and tell you how lovely it is to work with you, and we're going to miss you.
Where are you going?
Thank you. I'm
He's
not
going to
leaving the
DRB.
city. I'm going to Historic Preservation Board.
Oh,
I-
that's right, HPB.
I was staff to the HPB for 10 years, from about 2003 to 2013. So I'm going back to Historic Preservation Board, and Debbie Tack, who you've seen before, is going to be coming to the Planning Board. Yes.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Nick,
Michael.
you're
Thank you
staying,
for
right?
everything.
Thank you. It's been great working
I'm
with you all.
staying, yes.
Guys, people always drop
Nick
us,
is a
except for you, Nick. Thank God.
He tried, Nick.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's true. We brought him back in.
All right, that adjourns the meeting. Thank you, everybody.